We are live. Morning. We are back. All types of gaming. We're back. So can you guys hear me all right? We good? Are we good? I'm streaming on a new platform here. I don't use this platform very often. Fourth. Okay, right on. Here we go. Let's see if we are live here again. All right, so did it take us right back live again? We're back. Okay, same one. Awesome. Okay, so we're bringing in Roberto Blake. Hey, Roberto, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, D?
Hey, dude. Just as a heads up, we do want to keep this a somewhat family friendly. Just as a little.
I went in on my stream. I know I went in on my stream, and the thing is,
Andrew,
I
you're
didn't
in.
curse that much. I
Thank you.
don't think I cursed at all, actually. But
Okay.
and I know that you could argue I got carried away, but I'm very passionate about this issue because I see this as completely egregious, and I see it as very wrong-headed, and I see it as being politicized.
Yeah. Andrew, how are you?
Hello,
sir?
I'm doing well. I have been I'm sure like the two of you have, and like anyone else in our space, I've been dealing with this ruling as it comes, dealing with like what appears to be. It's interesting. I think Daniel Batal, another contemporary of ours, said this. It's interesting how like less than a month ago, we all knew our content not intended, not for kids. The ruling comes. Well, am I?
Right.
It's like, how did we go from everyone to a little bit of confidence to this? It's very interesting to watch that development happen.
Because we don't have self-determination in this issue anymore. It's been taken from us in a way that is unfair, because the problem is, in this situation, the FTC and the federal government have the ability to interpret content as they see fit. We have no means of filing an appeal, and we already know that that's a bad situation to be in as YouTube creators, because we already experienced this with demonetization and with classification of our content. So now you have an entity that's not the platform, doesn't understand the culture of technology, deciding that, and they can levy a fine. They have a financial incentive to interpret it in a way that is detrimental to the creator and advantageous for them.
Absolutely. And that's like why I've been focusing. I know you've seen me post about Roberto YouTube rating system, and I've seen some people say, well, it may not work. I'm like, well, it's better than the alternative. And if we have to bring in something to go forward, I'd rather bring in something we have control over. And because historically speaking, gaming had this similar ruling happen. They brought in a system, the FTC backed off. Movies had it, books had it. Freaking comic books have it, and like they are similar, but they're all yes. And the thing is we have one person right now who's, if you've been very up to date on this issue, you will have seen is actually working with us in Congress and has got us the extension. I'm blanking on the name. It is very early, so I apologize.
I think it was J House Vlogs.
Yes, there we are. Sorry, it's a little early for me.
Sure.
It's 8:25 a.m. But the thing is, I know you two are passionate about it, because it's to a point where all I see are comments about this, where it's like, I'm seeing complete stop of people like focusing on their content to work on this. And I'm like, in that intermedium, like that's where you need to be creating content still, right? Because like, if you show how shaken up we are by this, that just shows the FTC got them.
I personally would drop everything. For me, I would batch a bunch of content, hire out an editor. This is me, just Roberto. Mm-hmm. And if they said, Roberto, you can come to DC, I'll put it on my freaking credit card and I'll go spend a week in DC. I'll be more calm. I'll be more candid with them, but I will be radical candor with them. I won't back down, and I will get in their face a little bit. And if I get pissed enough, I'll challenge them to a cage match.
So I want to tackle this really quick. So, 1-1 says, have you heard about the Roblox YouTuber who's going to DC to meet the FTC? So Creekcraft. So let's start with Andrew. Andrew, what do you think about that? Are you aware of that? And what are your thoughts on that?
So I didn't know about this until now, but I think more YouTubers need to go, especially because I think you said this yesterday, Roberto, and it's like in the States, there's a lobbying system, whether you like it or love it. That's a system, like you loathe it, whatever. that's the system in play. You can play by the system that's already there. And I think more YouTubers need to go and have these discussions because, again, the people making these laws are also the same government that thought Google created the iPhone, right? So, like, yeah, technically different branches, but it's the same similar group mindset that we're dealing with.
Same culture.
Yes.
Right. Roberto, what do you think about it? You think they're wasting their time, or do you think it's worthy?
I never think that educating people is a waste of time. And as much as I joke in the rhetoric that I have, I don't think that individual people are sitting there necessarily rubbing their hands together. Yeah, we got them. Let's go fleece these YouTubers. But I do think that they don't understand the culture, and maybe their understanding of what a YouTuber is, or what their understanding of what they're protecting people from, and not to call them out or anything like that. But maybe if they are looking at someone like a Jake Paul, for example, and that's their example of what a YouTuber is, just because he's one of the most visible people on the platform, he has gone on record specifically of saying that, yeah, he targets kids and he goes after kids, and that's why his audience is so big. And with his questionable merchandising, marketing toward kids and their parents, I could see somebody that if that's the only example or one of the only examples that they have, and they sit in government and they're not part of this community and the culture, I could understand why they would think that the measures they're taking are appropriate, but they're not being presented with the broader perspective of how diverse the community is and the unintended consequences of what they do. And I don't think that they have looked at the fact that there are legal experts who feel that what they're doing might be unconstitutional. And I would agree with that perspective, because you could look at this as a form of soft censorship. You both know I'm on the record of believing that demonetization from YouTube as a platform is not a form of soft censorship, but that is an argument that has been made even by right-leaning people like Steven Crowder, who you can disagree with him, but I agree with him on this particular issue in terms of the idea of soft censorship, but I disagree with him that YouTube demonetization is soft censorship. However, when the government is implementing systems that remove your ability to communicate directly with your audience and them to communicate with you in the form of both YouTube stories and your comments and your community tab, and they can potentially fine and punish you financially to the point of, as you said, Dee, you needing to declare bankruptcy.
Yeah.
That is a textbook definition of censorship. Yes. You could argue it's not even soft. I will give them the benefit of the doubt and say it's soft, because I don't believe that that is their intent, is to discourage speech, but they're removing a communication tool from people, and they're also disincentivizing people to communicate and to have freedom of art, freedom of expression, and freedom of communication. And they are levying a fine if they decide that your form of doing that is disagreeable. And so I would say that there's a very good argument to be made that it's government censorship.
I think, hold on, I just lost. I've got so many browsers open here. First of all, Christina, thank you so much for the super chat. She says, how are Facebook and Instagram getting away with this? First of all, because of YouTube's previous history with the FTC and the enormous, $170 million fine that they had, all of this is part of the arrangement this is part of the settlement that they came to with the FTC. Now, that said, it's only a matter of time before this trickles down through all of the platforms.
They're looking into TikTok already, from what I've looked into.
They're looking into TikTok already. So yeah, so it's not a matter of getting away with it. It's just a matter of how long are they going to get away with it. And it's coming.
And arguably, I mean, they're already on Capitol Hill. They're already having battles over Facebook as we speak. Like, that's been
a different battle with Facebook.
Yes, and Facebook's going to have many battles. I mean, all of these online companies that are doing social media are going to have their day in court, literally, and that's going to be the interesting part.
Yeah, I want to say this, because we just switched over from the old chat or the old stream, and we shut that down. I know a lot of people left. How's it going, Bobstar X? Go ahead, please, everybody, share this link out. Share it out on Facebook. Share it out on Twitter. Share it out. Let's get people in here. Let's get this conversation going, because this is an important conversation. Very important conversation. Now, what I think about the gamer going to Washington, D.C. to talk about this, I think it's good. I think any voice is better than no voice. But I think, and I hate to sound like a naysayer or a pessimist here, but I think it's good. But I I don't think it's going to get very far. I think we're going to need a lot of people going down there. I think we're going to need a lot of people who carry a lot of weight behind them to go down and give very good to convince them to get. Roberto would be great. Daryl Leaves would be great.
If you went down there, Dee and Andrew, what would each of you say to them, and what would your goals be if you went down there?
I'll be honest with you. I would support. I would help pay for someone else to go. No, because look, I'm not somebody who wants to stand in front of them. I don't speak eloquently enough. I couldn't put together, and I couldn't say it in a way that can make an impact. Like Roberto, you're great at that. You know what I mean? Like I would pay for you to go do that. You know what I mean? Like there are certain people who are excellent communicators, and I think those are the people who need to go. That's why I'm not sure about the gentleman who is going, because I don't know about his ability to communicate.
I'm going to be reaching out to him, by the way, in DMs, and I'm going to be coming up with a series and a line of questioning that I'm going to suggest. I don't want to try to influence him in any way, but I would love for him, on the behalf of creators, to interject certain questions and lines of questioning into the conversation.
Yeah, go for it. I would love to see Daryl Leaves go.
Daryl Eves.
Yeah.
Devin Stone from Legal Eagle. I would love for them. Viva La Fry. I would love for basically the YouTube equivalent of the Mr. Burns lawyers to all just storm the Capitol.
We need a team to go. Like that's the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like it's not that I think we should be represented, but in terms of what would I say, I would want to help. Like we need a dream team. You know what I mean? We need a dream team, and I know I'm not it. We have better people to do it. Well, no, I mean, look, man, you got to play to your strengths and weaknesses, right?
That's fair.
That's not me.
That's fair.
That's not me. I'm just keeping it real.
Well, I think that's why, like, the team you just kind of came up with, we always used to talk about, like, what's your team you'd want to survive the apocalypse? Well, let's actually build that team for our the worst adpocalypse we're ever in, right?
The worst
so here's the thing.
Final apocalypse.
I want to say this.
Final timer.
I want to say this. If they want to put together an app to help identify what this content is, I'm all over it. I'm going to be first
to do that.
I'm just saying in terms of helping them develop an app and consult them, the FTC. Like if it's mobile related, if it's anything to do with this, I'm on it. Yeah. I'm on it. First in line.
Right,
I trust our team. I don't trust the government to together that. Yeah.
So real quick, I want to thank Mustang Bro Gaming for the super chat, who says, "Does FTC affect Indian gaming channels?" Roberto, you want to take that real quick?
So the way that I read the language is because YouTube itself exists within the US, even if you are a channel that operates abroad, the fact is you're reaching people in the US. And this is my issue with people when they think that another platform or a YouTube alternative is going to save them. Government regulations and international copyright law, and the fact that fair use doesn't exist really outside of the US and Canada for the most part. Right. Is why no other platform or anything like that, if it became big enough or popularized enough, is going to save you in the current world. Because at that point, we're dealing with not only the U.S. government is dealing with this COPPA issue, but we've had to deal with the fact that the UK and GDPR, multiple governments around the world can institute policies that will affect you as a content creator, and international copyright law is also a thing that you have to be concerned of with regard to fair use and fair dealing. What no one talks about is that the anime community was gutted by a Japanese publisher, Shueisha, who owns the rights to publishing and distribution for many anime properties, the most popular of being probably the Shonen Jump properties and Dragon Ball and the like. And a lot of channels were shut down due to false copyright claims in many cases, and things that should be theoretically covered under fair use and fair dealing, but even things that didn't violate fair use at all in any way were actually struck down because YouTube as a company has no choice but to side with the copyright holders just due to the way the laws are written. And the laws are not made for a 21st century economy where the average consumer has the ability to essentially become a media company. And that is my reservation with regard to all of this, is that this is 20th and 19th century thinking and frameworks being deployed against 21st century technology and 21st century commerce that has not existed for more than about a decade, and we need new solutions, not old ones.
Agreed.
I love that. Real quick, Flipped Classroom Tutorials, who's also based in Thailand, he's in Bangkok. He says it'll be interesting to see what happens to all the channels unaware of this because they don't have the language to know about it. Being based in Thailand, I know many channels that will do nothing. That's absolutely true, especially like here in parts of the world where they just don't care. But because YouTube is they're headquartered in the U.S., therefore they're going to fall primarily under U.S. law, and they specifically say that anywhere in the world you are, this is going to apply to you. So
that's
my
wrong-headed for U.S. laws and U.S. ideals to govern a global platform. That's
absolutely.
Why I don't believe that's why I don't believe in the dichotomy of a platform versus a publisher. We need a new model for the 21st century because that doesn't work in a global economy. I know people like to politicize the word globalism. Sorry, the nerds won, you lost. We need to get over it. And that's why if you can't write a line of code, you shouldn't be making decisions about this.
Yeah. And I just want to say this for people who, if you're not in the US and the FTC is like, hey, they're violating this or whatever, the only choice that YouTube is going to have if they really push this out on a global level, the only choice they have is to terminate your account unless they give you some sort of a warning. I don't know if they're going to do that or not. We don't know.
So
Andrew,
going on the we don't know, the thing that I always find interesting on any ruling, especially against our own government, is the same government that would cry out no taxation without representation is so willing to step and stomp on anything that has not, one, got enough representation to represent it, in this case YouTube, and two, yes, they've talked to YouTube. Yes, they've talked, within themselves. But the problem is the people that are getting affected have absolutely no voice. So I see in the chat, name one time where people stood up to a government and won: the American Revolution, the French Revolution, whether you want to agree with it or not. Well, yes, but let's that's a whole different history lesson.
All of the instances where individuals or even corporations have sued the federal government and have won, there are multiple things you can cite with regard to that.
And so to go on that, I keep seeing this mindset of it's not going to be me, but someone needs to go. The more people saying that, the more counterintuitive that needs to be. Like, Dee, I actually do think you need to go because the strengths in numbers and the different view set you have. You could arguably argue you're a bigger global creator because you are based in Thailand and because you're not primarily creating in the United States. So the thing comes down to is we need multiple different voices that can speak on the same ideal and mindset that this is different than any other media that came before it. This is the most, as you would say, Roberto, entrepreneurial we've ever had in a digital space. Movies, TV, all of that, they're all coming to YouTube for a reason. And that reason matters. The problem I have is like any government ruling, right? Like when films had the issue of why are kids watching movies that like Indiana Jones? Like, okay, fair. Maybe little kids shouldn't be watching Indiana Jones. They had to make new ratings. They had to come up with new things.
Since this stream is going to be demonetized anyway, I'm just going to do this.
How's it going to be demonetized? We're not cursing.
Well, that's out now, Roberto.
Now it's done.
All right.
I think the only reason my stream was demonetized because I brought up, in talking about legitimately protecting children, I was forced to bring up the unfortunate events of last year, and I think that's what got my stream demonetized. And I think you guys both know what I'm talking about. Because of what took away comments from family channels the first go round last year. So I think, or was it earlier this year? No, I think it was earlier this year actually. So since I had to bring up those unfortunate events, that's why I think initially got mine demonetized, but it's under review. But I've had streams where I've brought that up before, where it's demonetized, then it's remonetized, and then it's demonetized again, and then remonetized again.
And remonetized, right? So Talking Loud with Keish T, thank you for the super chat. She says, are adult channels okay? And are the stream you're using mobile? So I'm going to tackle the tail end of that first. The stream that we're using is a browser-based streaming platform called StreamYard. It's StreamYard.com. You can get pulled in as a guest by using the Safari browser on an iPhone, or I believe Chrome on an Android. And if you want to do this on an iOS device, you can use a platform called Switcher Studio or Cinemaker. Those will do similar things. So are adult channels okay? Yeah, if your intent when you're making the content is for adults, then mark your content for not adults. I'm sorry, I mean not kids.
I would say
not kids.
Something I brought up in my stream was I'm using, and I recommend people use in their keywords, safe for work, possibly not made for kids, and SFW, which stands for safe for work. Because if you have clean content that has broad appeal, clean content that's not cursing, let's say you're not targeting kids, but you are a family vlogger. even if you're not targeting kids, you're a family vlogger, even if you have teenagers. Well, I think saying that you're not making children's directed content, which is the phrase that I think we're going with instead of family friendly. And now the phrase that I say is, if your content is clean, stop saying family friendly and say either appropriate for all ages or say safe for work. And that's the direction that I'm counseling my clients and creators in general to go in.
Based on that last super chat where she said adult, Costume Co. brought up a very good point. By adult, do you mean like grown up or like adult? Like stripper pole adult?
You mean mature
like,
content?
Yeah, mature content.
Let's use that terminology.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of like stripper on a pole. It doesn't work. It doesn't fly. No. Well, yeah, there goes the channel. No, mature. Yeah. I don't know. Please clarify if you mean adult, like by mature content. Please clarify that.
Yeah,
or I just
clarify
don't know,
between like
plus.
adult versus like mature versus say professional content, because I don't think a lot of kids are watching real estate brokers on YouTube. I don't think they were.
Right. So Michael Groff, thank you for the super chat. He says, what impact do you think this will have on collabs? Say my content is not for kids, but I collab with a channel that has made for kids content. Andrew, you want to tackle that?
So I would say in that instance, since you're the person facilitating the collaboration, you should be fine because, again, it is on your channel. Now, the thing that goes into the nitty gritty of this is like, because YouTube even says within this update, YouTube analytics isn't designed to help you know if your content's for kids. Until they come up with a better system for one to even determine that, it's hard to give you a straightforward answer. I would go with, since you're the one facilitating the collaboration, you can talk literally about anything. You should be fine.
I think stating in the description and in the keywords that's not made for kids is dictating your intent, and that's empirical and saying, look, I made this for adults. If people if you happen to have a store and the store doesn't cater to minors, but they decide to wander in or decide to hang out in front, you shouldn't be held accountable or reliable or responsible for that in any way. And the problem that I have with the current FTC ruling is they can make that determination for themselves with giving you no recourse, and they have a financial incentive to do so. The fact that they have I would be less concerned if they were not levying fines against creators. I would say screw it. If it was just down to, oh, maybe you don't get certain ads and then you make less revenue, I'd say screw it, fine, whatever. But also there's nothing in this provision that really and truly actually is in my opinion, a meaningful way to protect children or any individual online. And even if you wanted to, with saying the restriction or removal of these features, I think that you could do that without actually infringing on people's speech and communication abilities. There are ways programmatically to solve that problem. In fact, I will tell you, for the things that they did wrong, I will tell you how they could have got this right and everyone would have been okay with it.
Roberto, you're breaking up terribly.
Yes.
Oh, really?
You've been breaking up for about the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Let me actually turn my stuff to standard definition, and that should actually help. Because I think that's the bandwidth issue. So maybe that'll be better here in a second. So let me go through the things that they did wrong real quick, because it won't take long. It's very easy. And
it's just very hard to hear because it's so staticky.
Is it still? Wait a minute. Let me check and see if it's using the right microphone. Maybe it's not using the right. No, it's using.
You were fine there for a while. And you just completely went south on us.
Huh? Really? Okay.
You want to disconnect or reconnect?
Let me try that.
To answer the super chat we just got from First 1000 Hours, our gift for kids videos now restricted to YouTube Kids. So again, as Dee said in his stream earlier, we really can't make a ruling on what will be deemed of what is for kids. My stance on this is going back to any rating system, or I like to use the history of how other media industries dealt with this, because if you can understand the history, you're not so much doomed to repeat it. YouTube for a long time, whether we saw it or not, was really being that in between for us as creators to kind of talk to the FTC and deal with this. But they're to a point, you mentioned the $170 million fine they occurred. That's to the point where they're like, you know what? We've done a lot for creators, and it's hard for them to continue that fight when they get that huge fine. My thing is, they have an internal system that they're not using. I keep bringing up ratings because that's what really is needed. That's what we need. If I have a clear, defined rating system, I can go ahead and say it and understand it from a creator perspective.
The rating system actually exists already. They just don't deploy it.
Okay, let's talk about this for a second. Let's talk about the Google Brain. Let's talk about the AI that Daryl introduced, I guess, at VidCon last year, where it looks through every frame of your video, right? It looks at your thumbnails. It looks at every frame of your video. So it clearly can identify what's happening in your video, frame by frame, can clearly identify what's happening in your thumbnails. Can't they just deal with this with that?
No,
you know what I mean?
And
like,
they shouldn't.
No,
they shouldn't. One, the
Thoughts,
AI
go.
is not
Yeah,
nuanced.
tell me.
The AI
It's
is
not nuanced enough.
It's
Okay.
not nuanced enough because it already creates too many false positives that are affecting
false
content
positives.
creators as it is, and it can misclassify things very easily. And so I don't like that approach. But at scale, AI is one of the only like tools that you can deploy. That being said, if YouTube makes the determination of something being directed for kids or not being directed for kids on their own, then they then become more liable. And also, if there are consequences for the creator, then that puts the creator in a position to then go after YouTube. So it's easier for them and it makes more sense for them to opt out of doing that. And it's also safer for the creator to make that determination for themselves when you think about their actual content. And the problem here is that now the government is getting involved and doesn't understand the culture and technology and has a financial incentive to disagree with that determination. And so therein lies the actual core problem. The fines just shouldn't be levied against creators, period, end of story, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The one thing I am concerned about, let's say, like, who is going to go after creators? Are they going to create an AI to look for these videos? Yeah, the FTC. Is it going to be a group? Are they going to outsource the Chinese to try to? I mean, what are they going to do?
The government has a history of doing this, and I worked at a web hosting company that had a lot of people that had familiarity and background in this. Once upon a time in my previous career, I've worked at a web hosting company. And so you can imagine in web hosting, we actually dealt with a lot of these issues in the early and mid 2000s quite a bit with regard to how the government handles internet, bandwidth, traffic, the responsibilities of a web host with regard
copyright
to
issues,
safe
DMCA,
harbor, all of it.
safe harbor, sure.
So that's where my background in understanding this, even without being a lawyer, I understand it from being in the industry and being an industry insider. And so when we talk
how do you think they'll go about it?
So part of the issue is that the government itself is inefficient when it comes to legislation matching technology and keeping up with it. It's inefficient by design, honestly. It's actually designed, even in the framework of the founders, nothing against the founding fathers, they actually designed it to be inefficient for a reason, to actually, in a way, they'd wanted to make sure that it couldn't create rampant tyranny. That being said, we don't have a 21st century framework for government, and we don't have a government that has the bandwidth and the expertise to deal with 21st century economic issues. So what they would end up doing is they would end up probably, and the lobbyists would be involved at some point in this, they would probably end up outsourcing this project just like they do with military contracts to people that are experts, and they would build some kind of mechanism. Now, this mechanism is going to be built with parameters that are in the favor of the government, not in the favor of fairness, transparency, or any of those things.
So it's going to be something like the NSI or something like that, or
correct.
NSA.
And so
what is it? NSI or NSI? What is it?
So that would then be problematic. Now, they're also going to introduce, because this is the beginning of policy, they'll introduce more policies. And they will go after more platforms, and it will be an issue. And that's why this needs to be stopped dead in its tracks, and why creators, even like if I get together with some legal experts, and if anyone says, hey, Roberto, we want to start some type of creators lobby, because a union won't do it. You know, and a union, there are people who've already formed a creators union, and they want to go after and directly go after YouTube, and I think that that's misguided. I think that the biggest threat to content creators and their livelihood is the larger issue of government regulation with a lack of representation for the small business owner, the creator, and the fact that these are tools that represent freedom of expression and free speech, and we have to hold the government accountable to not infringe on our constitutional rights when it comes to our usage of these platforms. Because the thing is, as a private entity, the private entities are not unconstitutional in denying us access to these things. But when the government restricts and limits our ability to use these things, then that is an issue of censorship, and that is unconstitutional, and it is a problem. That is the textbook definition of it. Imagine if the government told you you cannot publish and write books. It is the same thing here. Or that, hey, if you publish or write these books, even though they present no harm to the common good, you will be financially punished for that, to the point of not being able to make a livelihood.
One thing I want to just say real quick is a lot of what we're saying, people are like, how are you guys so sure? It is a lot of speculation, just to throw that out there. Like, we're not speaking as an authoritative group here. We're just giving our free thoughts, because I've seen a lot of people are like, wow, they really know this. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, here's the thing. We're speculating. We're speculating based on the information we have and based on things that have happened in the past.
Historically.
Historical things that have happened.
And based on our industry knowledge, things that we know from talking to people at YouTube, talking to people with a legal background, talking to our own legal counsel, and in my case, some of my background being on the technology side of the industry in my former career before building my business.
Now, I want to ask you guys this, because this is a part of, so if you go into the support page for Google, where it says, determining if your content is made for kids, there's one line in there that really terrifies me a bit, where it says whether the video includes characters, celebrities, or toys that appeal to children, including animated characters or cartoon figures. Now, I know there's a ton of gamers out there who are freaking out because some people play games with characters that could be appealing to children. What do you guys, let's go with Andrew first. What do you think that line is going to be? Your opinion here. Do you think they're going to come after any games at all? Or do you think they're just kind of, boy, Roberto, you tapped, whoa, holy cow. What do you, ladies and gentlemen,
a pornographer in the group. I didn't realize.
we've got a woodpecker who's joined
I actually didn't type about 90 words per minute. Sorry about that.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah.
So I think right there, I think that's the problem within the language, is that it appeals to, not that it's intended, right? Because there's a difference between appealing and intention. And I think that language, and what I was putting in the chat was, if you go back and look, appeals to has only been brought up in this instance. I think really when we look at the language, this is the problem. The issue here is that YouTube was gathering data against minors, this case kids, without their parents knowing, even though it's in the terms of service. The thing that really kicked all of this off, because I think we're losing sight of that, wasn't that videos weren't clearly defined for kids or not. It was that YouTube/Google was collecting information from minors under the age of 13. Understanding that, YouTube has passed the buck on to us creators into making sure we label it so they don't get in trouble. The problem with that system, going back to the appeals language, is that in their own admission that they do not let us know if our content is child directed. Like, obviously, like, I know as a creator it isn't, but because we can't tell where it's being served, the conversation needs to be between us and YouTubers, us as the creators and YouTube as the platform. You need to give us better tools to identify and help you help yourself, because trust us as the creators. I'm sure neither of you are like, yes, YouTube got hit with $170 million fee. No, none of us want that.
None of us are, but there are people who, and I was just messaging with somebody who was like, felt that it was rightly so for YouTube. I have a controversial opinion on this, Andrew.
Go for it.
Hashtag YouTube did nothing wrong. Hashtag YouTube did nothing wrong. And here's where my thing is, because I know
let it go. Let it rip.
No, and I'm not saying that they did anything wrong. I'm just saying they can work with us.
First of all, the data harvesting of young people using the platform are in violation of the terms of service.
Yep.
I would
right out of the gate.
If if a minor went to a grocery store and used a fake ID and bought alcohol or tobacco, we would not fine the grocery store. We would not fire the clerk. We would discipline that kid, I would hope.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth thing. That further, FTC is so.
You're coming in really choppy, Roberto.
Huh?
Yeah, we're losing
you again.
Let me see what's going on here. With
Roberto makes a good point against YouTube. All of a sudden, his
actually was in favor of YouTube.
I know. But no, it's just kind of funny because YouTube's system is like, Roberto says something about us, shut him down. Who knows?
But yeah, no. And here's the thing: where's the FTC on all of the programming on television and films that encourages underage drinking, underage sex, underage smoking, and shows drug use, and it's not always a cautionary tale, and it glamorizes it. So where's the FTC on that? Because not all of that content.
I can answer that question.
There's no regulating that because there are kids under 13 watching that, regardless of the label.
Yep.
They threw this is what they did, and this is what they do in a historical context. The reason the movies get the blame now instead of the FTC is because they're like, well, the movies have a rating system, blame them. It literally all comes back to this. If everyone just wants a scapegoat and YouTube chose the scapegoat to be the individual creator to have something, what I'm arguing is that creators, instead of YouTube throwing the blame on creators, we need a third party. And I'm not saying the MPAA, they have a whole host of problems, but I'm just saying a company like the ESRB or something that where we can say, here are the guidelines we all agreed to. I'm labeling it. I'm doing my due diligence because I don't mind YouTube making us decide. I mind the limited options we have and the language that is being used because none of us can with good faith give a solid answer. And I think that's a problem because the three of us know this platform well. And I know Daniel knows it well. I know Doug Houston. I know a lot of our contemporaries that are in this chat. We can't give a good faith answer. And that's the problem. That's the bottom line, my problem.
And here's the thing. We talk about good faith.
Hey, Podcastage, how's it going, Andrew?
Here's good faith. Here's the thing. It's not the government's business and it's not their place because they have bigger problems to solve and they're wasting our time and our taxpayer money and they're not protecting anybody. Give the tools to the creators. Don't strip creators and their communities, the viewer. Don't punish the viewers. The viewers not being able to communicate with their favorite creator, that's stripping them of speech and that's punishing the viewer for doing nothing wrong. Period. Stripping them the ability to have that access to the creator with YouTube stories, that's punishing the viewer. Viewer did nothing wrong. Being able to deal with in the community tab, the viewer did nothing wrong. You want to talk about the protecting people? What about protecting the freedom of speech of the average consumer by allowing them access to communicate? Because that's the whole point of using this platform versus broadcast television, was that ability to be heard. That the government is literally silencing the viewer at that point, and the viewers deserve a voice. And they're not represented in this any more than the content creators are. It's a vocal minority of people who are in favor of this. The government also is acting in bad faith, in my opinion, with the smokescreen of we are protecting children. Protecting them from what? Online advertising. So what, are you protecting them from every billboard, every flyer, every thing that's in the public venue and eye? And at what point is it our responsibility to protect children on our own, which we cannot do 24/7? And if the government were really sincere, there are better things to protect them from. The opioid crisis, the school shootings. I would much rather that they spend their time and energy on that. But the thing is, those are partisan issues that lobbyists have a hand in, and we don't have a lobby. And it's easy to demonize tech companies, and it's become popular to demonize tech companies, tech oligarchs, and billionaires in this culture. And it's both sides of the aisle, the left and the right. It's not politics, it's economics, my friend, as they would say in 1996. It's the economy, stupid. This is about the economy. This is about the direct average consumer not having a choice in what they can support with their energy, their time, and their wallet. This is telling people that they're too dumb to protect their own kids. This is telling content creators and discouraging them to not be able to be entrepreneurial. And this is denying them that ability in a country that is built on the foundation of individual freedom and entrepreneurship and individual sovereignty. That's the phrase I was looking for.
One, this is why Roberto is the one that needs to go to Washington, D.C. Amen. Number two, if you guys agree with everything that the fire that Roberto just spit out of his mouth, type in yes in the chat right now. That was awesome. If you guys don't mind, let's answer a couple questions because I had the form open in the last live stream. I want to get to a couple of those questions if you guys want to help answer those.
Of course.
So Strider's Dream asks, and either one of you can take this. It says, if I label my content as child friendly, will my videos stop being suggested to 18 plus? Either one of you can answer that if you have any ideas on that. I don't know.
There's no empirical evidence to suggest that at the moment, but that could be subject to change.
So I went to the YouTube space at an event and I started talking to some people that I knew just to ask questions. And they was literally told, we will let you know as we first discover and are figure this out. Because here's the thing, and this is on YouTube side, you think we're panicking? Imagine YouTube on the back end, right? Like, that's what I would say. So
I talked to them directly at HQ, and their biggest concern for the stability and the future of the platform. People say they don't care about creators.
They do.
They were agonizing
Sure they do,
about
yeah.
how devastating this is going to be and further regulations to creators. And something that's not talked about is, remember, my concern is they'll use this COPPA thing and use the children as a meat shield here to get in other things, because I talked to them directly about education content. And I said, what's to stop the government from deciding that if someone wants to be an education channel on YouTube, to say that you can't do that if you don't have a license or a degree?
Yeah.
What's to stop the government from saying they're doing that? And they'll use a smokescreen like saying that they're trying to stop disinformation or harmful misinformation or fake news or this or that. But again, it's another form of censorship, and it's them putting their hands where it doesn't belong because people can decide for themselves. And the irony of this, because people want to politicize this, and like I said, it's not a left or a right-leaning issue. It's an economics thing, and it is a constitutional issue in a way. The issue that like is not being brought up because people are afraid to say it is you have a right-leaning administration right now that is literally in this instance getting ready, as much as they say social media platforms censor certain political points of view. Why is a right-leaning administration that's supposed to be the champion of free speech saying and leveraging a platform that they have a grudge against, Google and YouTube? It's been publicized. That's just a fact. Why is it that they want to take away your free speech as a viewer from saying that you cannot comment and talk to another creator or talk to your favorite creator through the comment section of that video? Why is it that they are taking away your free speech as a content creator to directly address your audience in the comments and through your YouTube stories? Why is a right-leaning administration wanting to remove free speech? Because here's the thing. We would all really call out if it was the Clinton administration. We would absolutely say that here you go with the thought police, and here you go with the. So it's not a left or right leaning thing. I genuinely believe that this is an attempt for the government to assert control over the democratization of speech and intellectual property and entrepreneurship and this 21st century digital economy that these people who have been bought and paid for by 20th century industrialists. They're afraid of the 21st century, and they despise the 21st century tech oligarchs, but they have no problem bending the knee to the 20th century oligarchs of oil and gas and manufacturing and the military industrial complex. They're afraid of the future.
So I just want
to people. It belongs to people.
I want to say, Roberto, if you don't get merch that says #meat shield, then there's something wrong here. That's like, yeah, #meat shield. I absolutely love that. And you're absolutely right. I'm going to go to another question here. It says, are videos that review and react to celebrities or other younger attracting celebrities such as Michael Jackson, does that mean it's for kids?
Wrong example.
You're right. Terrible example. Terrible example. Like, you had me until Michael Jackson.
Right? I like the idea. Let's go with small YouTuber Will Smith. You know, he's in a couple of movies now. Okay, you may have heard of him.
Right. Terrible example. Like I was going until like
he has an up and coming channel,
and then I was like, well,
yeah, small YouTuber Will Smith. We'll go with him.
Yeah, up and coming content creator on the platform. Newbie.
Yeah. So what I'll say is he was in like the live action Aladdin. He's been in a lot of child's content. Like, arguably, how will that rule for him? Because he's been in both adult and child-based content. So how will he be affected based on the language? And you know they're not going to hurt small YouTuber Will Smith.
Right.
Well, he could directly, independently sue the government, and he might win. So
let's bring him. You know how we talked about our Adpocalypse team? We need Will Smith in here.
The hero we need.
You never know. I believe. I mean, there's still a chance when this thing goes into effect. You don't know who's going to come out of the woodworks and try to get an injunction on this. Like, you don't know. Like, you don't know who's going to pop up. So Tier Talk, it might be Will Smith, the hero. That would be amazing, right? That would just be
people tweet at him like, get him on this.
Yeah. Like,
seriously, need him on the team.
Everybody in here should tweet at Will Smith.
Jablinski Games too. Just thinking about it.
Jack Black, Jablinski Games, and Will Smith.
This really is starting to sound like a zombie apocalypse team. The more we talk about it,
you know what?
This is like serious. Like, do that.
Actually, new strategy. Having celebrities.
Yes. Let's start this thing right here. Let's start platforms.
is actually in our favor because they have the clout to advocate to us, to the mainstream audience, to the average consumer, and they can't be ignored, and they have high visibility. So instead of worrying about competing with them or why don't they just stick to their own thing, it's actually a boon for us to have them as part of the platform, part of the conversation, because now they can actually be our champions because they can be part of the community, and they can't be ignored.
Roberto,
we can be dismissed as just being the internet. They can't.
Roberto, so if you were to let's workshop this real quick, because there's 206 people watching right now. If half of them started tweeting at these celebrities, you never know. If you were to write a tweet out to say Will Smith, what would you say?
Will Smith, as a creative person.
As a creative person, to try to get them on board here. Like,
Will
hey,
Smith, as a creative person, we need your voice in this conversation about COPPA and how we as content creators protect our communities and how we limit government overreach in this instance.
I'm writing this up as we speak. So
because
if somebody can type this,
freedom of expression.
If somebody types that up and we can start like everybody tweeting that to Will Smith on YouTube, Jack Black on YouTube, like people will listen to celebrities.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
Question actually,
you never know. You never know.
Good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So
I think that would be good. That was the best I could come up with on the fly.
Yeah.
So Costume Co asked, can you please write that in the chat? So if somebody can write that in the chat, that would be great. And let everybody just go tweet them. That'd be awesome, actually. So Tier Talk, thank you for the super chat. They say, and this is regarding the YouTube space, I'm guessing. It says, I have over 10,000 subscribers and I cannot access New York City's YouTube space. Any advice? Is there anything else besides 10,000 subs that are needed? Andrew,
so you need to go onto the YouTube space website for New York specifically and request to unlock the space. That way that you have access and you're added to their system in which to bring you within. A lot of people don't know about the unlock the space. So you have to complete that before you can go in. I recently went to the YouTube space in LA and they're getting even more strict on the requirements. So like before you kind of didn't have to do the unlock the space. You could just go. Now they're really getting strict on it because they've had so many problems. So you have to first do unlock the YouTube space. Go to the YouTube space for your area, in this case, New York, and do that. And then from there, you'll get more information.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny. I've talked with both of you about this issue. And it's like, no offense to anybody under 13 or anything like that. But didn't I always say that this like particular thing, like that, the youth driven and the younger the platform gets, the larger that the tent of young people on the platform gets, that it will be diminishing returns for the platform. That's the singular largest threat to the platform. I said that to you guys for like the last 3 years.
The funny thing is that you're kind of like Gary Vee in the sense that like you just keep saying the same things, and then when they happen, you know what I mean? It's kind of like you called it, right?
I joke about my force powers, my Sith powers, like Dark Lord Roberto, like, you know, Emperor Roberto. But like the thing is, you don't have to be a prophet to be able to see these things coming if you don't romanticize them.
Right. So let's take some more questions here. So this one is from, where did it go? 1 second. It says, I'm confused with the restriction part. Can someone help? Define restriction. Are you talking about the restriction to children in terms of if you mark your content, or what's going to happen to your channel if you mark your videos for children? So Roberto, if someone has a channel that's dedicated to children and they mark their channel as a child channel, they're going to lose what exactly? They're going to lose.
There's going to be a list of things that you lose. First of all, and this one will be important to you if you're trying to become a full-time content creator, you're going to lose individually personalized advertising on your channel as a whole, or at least those videos. Because the thing is, you could mark individual videos for this, or you could mark your whole channel for this, and then decide on a case-by-case basis. On the videos that are marked as children's directed content, which is the phrase we're going to use instead of family friendly, just to be very clear. Made for kids content, you're going to, and that's going to be a significant decrease in, because ads are more now as an advertiser, because this is important for people to know.
Is he coming in? You're coming in choppy again, Roberto.
I'm hoping that it's clear enough to understand, because it's also super important.
Does anybody ever find it odd that anytime Roberto gets ready to say something really important, his internet signal goes down?
I have the most expensive internet, by the way. I have the most expensive internet,
right,
guys. Like, actually, let me try something. Let me try one quick thing.
So Beanie asked, would restricting comments also mean pinned comments by creators? I would have to say yes, based on how the system is currently set up. The thing is, as much as people don't like the new YouTube studio because it's changing, when they update their architecture and fix it over, things like that they are working towards. My problem with the change to the new studio beta is that there's not a good enough solution in the intermedium, but I do like what's coming, and that's just another way where when they update that, it can get fixed. Did I lose you, D? I don't know if I'm still alive, folks.
1 second. 1 second.
Okay. I don't see Roberto and I don't see D. It's all right, everyone. Well, now it's the Andrew show. And if you are enjoying the stream, consider giving it a like.
We've been taken out, guys. YouTube's listening and they're shutting us down one by one.
Our information's too good, D.
Roberto's down first. Right. They sent their mercenaries to get us. Roberto went down first and they took me down.
Fun Size Nomad said Andrew is the last of the YouTube gurus. Then we're in a lot of trouble.
Oh man. Okay, so here's a question from the forum that they filled out earlier from Torbuild, who says, "Hey D, I'm 15 years old and I put videos marked for kids because of vlogs. Should I put kids for vlogs and I put some videos not for kids? I'm really scared and I live in the United Kingdom and I don't want to get a fine. I already have it marked and I normally do vlogs and trends." I would say, and Andrew, let me know what your thoughts are on this, but it comes down to your intent. If you're intending to reach an audience of under 13 years old, if that's the age in the UK, I'm not sure what the age in there, it's under 13 in the US, but if your intent when you're making the content is to reach that audience, then you should mark it for kids. Or if anything that I talked about earlier that was written on the Google support page in terms of characters and things like that that appeal to kids, then market towards for kids. Andrew?
So as someone, they do clearly define what for kids is. It's like the age of a kid in the United States is defined anyone under 13.
Under 13,
says, however, the age of a kid may be higher in other countries. So I don't know.
It's 13 in the UK. So Chaos Creators says it's 13.
So if it's 13 in the UK as well, I would say for you, I think you're making a smart move by labeling it as such. At least for now, I keep telling people until we get more information, which is slowly being released, I'm ruling on the safe of cautious. But the worst thing I think people can do is stop creating content, delete all their videos, and get off the platform. Because the thing that's the worst about this is the sheer amount of panic that I keep seeing, and creators feeling like they don't have a voice. Don't silence yourself prematurely, because while we still have the option to fight, you need to be fighting.
Here comes a tap dancer once again.
The stenographer is back.
Okay, there. I was just texting you to see if you could see me. Sorry, but
yeah. So I just want to say real quick, and Andrew's talking about don't panic. I just saw somebody in here who says they just deleted all of their videos. Don't do that. Don't delete your content. Listen, you do not have to delete your videos. I understand that so many people are panicking. You just have to identify your videos correctly and mark them correctly. If your videos are appealing to children, mark them for children. If they're not, mark them not for children. Don't delete your content. You do not have to delete your content.
This is not the end of YouTube, and this doesn't have to be the end of your channel. So let's talk a little bit about what this means if your channel is for kids. Let's talk about
go. I like that. Yep, let's do it.
So understand that AdSense revenue will be dramatically decreased. As an advertiser, I can tell you that there's a system in place that rewards personalized targeted ads based on criteria. Okay. And you just understand that you'll get less ad revenue. That's not the same thing as being demonetized. That's not the same thing as making no AdSense revenue. It just means that you might have less ad inventory, possibly, or that ad inventory won't be worth nearly as much as it might have been up until now. But the reality is that the CPMs for children's programming were never as good as the CPMs that are targeting Gen X and boomers and older millennials in business, finance, and real estate. So my like $20, $30, $40 CPMs, Graham Stephan's $70 and $80 CPMs, there's no way that entertainment-based channels were ever going to get that. Even the most successful entertainment channels I've seen struggled $5 to $10 CPMs. McJuggernuggets, Jesse, one of the biggest content creators on this platform, he was saying that 3 to 5 is for most YouTubers absurd, and that's usually 25 cents to $2 anyway. So AdSense, in my opinion, was never going to be viable for most people. You know, we glamorize the people who make a lot of AdSense money. And
we're losing you, Roberto.
I'm starting to lose you as well.
I switched to like another Wi-Fi network here that's like theoretically even stronger. And I have the most expensive internet you can buy right now. Like that's amazing. So I hope I did come through when I said that. Don't worry about the AdSense. I know it's easy to say don't worry about AdSense, but it was never a great revenue stream and viable, and it's too vulnerable and more vulnerable than ever. Don't worry about that.
Roberto and Andrew, how long have the YouTube educators, all of you guys, for as long as you've been doing it, been urging people not to rely on AdSense as your main form of income?
A while.
From the beginning. From the beginning.
Always and forever.
And so the people who are panicking, like, oh my God, I'm losing, I'm going to lose so much of my money. It's like, man, I'm not saying you deserve it, so don't take it that way. But like the warning signs are there. They've been there. Everybody's been telling you,
It's not about deserve.
I'm not saying they do. I'm not saying you.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not saying you deserve it.
I know you're not.
Right.
I'm adding to that. I'm saying it's not about what we deserve. It's about us having to take responsibility for the situation presented in front of us. That's all we have to do in life.
Yeah.
That's a life lesson.
So, Roberto, people are asking if you're hardwired in. I'm pretty sure you are, but people are asking. In this
case, I'm not, because I moved. I was before, not now, but like months ago I was. But I moved the Wi-Fi stuff to downstairs, and like if I want to hardwire upstairs, I'm gonna have to pay for another thing, and so which I might do.
Roberto, here's something for you. So does this mean I need to make those 100 crappy videos before December 10th?
Maybe, and make them not for make them not for kids. Actually, I think I know what'll fix my issue. I think it's if I close these 40 tabs I have open, maybe that'll be better.
Stop your tab hoarding and get your connection in point there. Yeah. So Brittany I2I says, what if you have over 300 videos? Do I have to go back and edit them? So here's the thing. If you're on a desktop computer, you have access to just blanket change them all. Then you can go through individually and cherry pick the ones that needed change. Like you say, okay, I know for sure this one is appealing to kids. I need to change that. So you can do that on a desktop. You can mark it channel wide if you want. And if you're doing it on a mobile device, my last video shows you how to do it on a phone, which unfortunately requires individual opening and closing of every video. So yeah, you have to do it for all of them.
So yeah, and that's unfortunate, and that's one of the other things I don't like about situations like this is the extra work burden that it puts on people, especially people with large libraries of content. I mean, poor PewDiePie, right? Like, and all the game channels that do daily gaming streams, that's gonna be a nightmare for a lot of them. But here's what I'll tell you to do: go ahead and go into your settings, like Dee was saying, and really start thinking about your content and whether it was intended for kids. Period. Just think about whether it was or whether it wasn't, and just be honest with yourself. And the good news is your previous inventory for most of you as content creators is not making you a lot of passive income. So I don't think that it's going to negatively impact you one way or the other, regardless of how honest you have to be about that. So that's not going to hurt your money initially. Now you have to make a decision going forward of who your audience is going forward. This is why in every system that I teach on YouTube, I always start with identify your target audience, and then I go with clarify what the offering is for that audience, engage with your community, and then deliver tremendous value. The ICED system, okay? The ICED method is going to help you here, because if you say to yourself, I'm making content for people who enjoy Roblox, I'm not specifically making it for kids. Now you can start internalizing how you can separate that and how you can appeal to an older demographic that likes these things. And maybe it means in your Roblox content or your Minecraft content, making pop culture references that clearly are targeting an older audience and not a younger audience.
So to go on that mindset there of, making clear distinctions that you are for an older audience. One thing I just saw in chat, and I keep seeing this on Twitter and other places, is, does this mean I just need to drop a bunch of F-bombs now? So what are your thoughts on that, Roberto? Because I keep seeing that.
That will, if you're concerned with monetization, that will also limit your monetization in CPMs.
Brian G. Johnson's in the house. How's it going, Brian?
Welcome, Brian G.
Yeah, love you, Brian. But yeah, I like to the comment about dropping F-bombs. I'm not going to recommend that for the simple fact that could flag your content in ways that you don't like, because there are two extremes here. The government's getting involved on these, like, oh, let's go with, children's programming stuff and everything like that. And we've already addressed how we feel about that. But here's another extreme. YouTube is a platform, due to the advertisers pressuring them, is going to not classify your stuff as appropriate for all advertisers. And there may be some age gating to not push that toward younger audiences as well, which could throttle your channel in other ways or your videos in other ways. So there's two extremes here. If you're appealing to children and you've gone the clean route for that sake, thinking that would protect you, then you're not protected now because of what's happening with COPPA. And now, if you also go to the other extreme and you want to do edgy content, well, that's not commercially viable. So for advertisers, because advertisers are very conservative and very risk adverse, and I say that as an advertiser. So now the only way forward, in my opinion, economically, is there's really three ways forward. You have to abandon AdSense, and you can have AdSense, but in my mind, in terms of your reliance, in terms of this is how I'm going to make a living, this is how I become a full-time content creator, it has never been viable, it has never been sustainable, in my opinion. So just tell yourself AdSense doesn't exist, and then put that money in a tip jar, put that money in a rainy day fund, not financial advice, only for entertainment purposes. Like, maybe you just invest that money or save for a house or an index fund or something like that, and you don't touch the AdSense. What I would say is make a direct-to-consumer brand now. Make a direct-to-consumer brand now, meaning a transaction between you and your audience. Get people to support you with their wallet. Anyone who calls you a sellout, virtually, not really, punch them in the face and say, screw you. A virtual punch. A virtual punch in the throat. Like, elbow if you can, in my opinion, because that'll be more effective. They'll get more damage in over time. So, like, we're here for larynx, the larynx to be specific. We're here for damage over time. We're here for that DOT. So, but like, be a direct. See, I'm a gamer. Like, go be a direct to consumer brand. Get on Patreon. Do everything to monetize yourself in as many diverse ways as possible. For now, everybody aggressively go after brand deals. That's my real advice is for now, because guess what? Now they will then come in and say, well, wait, now you're directly marketing to children. Then they'll come up, but it'll take them a minute to draft that resolution. So milk that for 6 or 8 months or a year and just grab that cash. And again, anybody who's a naysayer, anyone who's a hater, screw them. Watch the 2 videos that I just put out on sponsorship and brand deals. I'm also about to drop a template for a sponsorship deck for you in the YouTube starter kit. If you have it, you're already going to get it. If you haven't, go grab it. Not a plug. I'm just telling you. Daniel. Brand deals right now is the faster path to you to getting to be a full-time content creator, because if you do programming that might be kids or this or that, affiliate marketing has never worked for you guys, and it's not going to, even though that's my favorite. That's for people with older audiences, people with money. 2, AdSense, you might as well say it's gone. That's just the way it is, or that's extra, put it in the tip jar. 3, if anyone in your audience has money, just allow them the opportunity to do a transaction with you. We just saw that 6,000 people in Peter McKinnon's audience backed his Kickstarter for his backpack for $2.2 million.
Crazy. That was
almost
crazy.
4 million subs. He doesn't even need 0.5% of the audience to directly do $2 million. Look at what happened with Shane Johnson and Jeffree Star. My friends, become a direct-to-consumer brand, I beg of you.
I love that. I want to welcome Daniel Batal to the chat. How's it going, Daniel?
Thank you for having me, Dee. I appreciate that. I'm going headphoneless right now, so if you get any echo from me, let me know, and I'll see if I can make my hair accommodate a set of headphones.
Okay, so here's a question I'm going to pull out of the chat right now, and this is another rumor that's been floating around, and YouTube has since come back and clarified. World Omar says, "What about YouTube deleting your channel if it's not commercially viable?" Anybody want to take that?
Can I handle that one?
Yes.
Take it.
You can take it.
I want to make it very clear here. I've talked to a lot of the creators out there about this particular instance, and YouTube specifically came out and tried to make sure they had clarification on that. People read that wrong because the way that YouTube actually phrased it, Dee and I talked about this, the legalese was so confusing that people, and it was listed under how YouTube could, remove channels. It got really, really scary. What YouTube was referring to in that particular instance.
Hey, Daniel.
Yes.
Daniel, you're really loud. Can you back off just a little bit there?
Daniel Batal, loud. What?
I know you're rock and roll. I know you're all rock and roll, but yeah, my eardrums are. Yeah, I'm bleeding literally.
Is this good now? Better?
Yeah, you're good, man. Yeah,
better now.
Right.
All right. Now listen, you're gonna get a guy with long hair. You're gonna get loud. That's what you.
That's right. I like it.
Yeah, YouTube was really non-specific in the way they phrased that. And what they really meant was that YouTube reserved the right to remove certain portions or access to features on the platform if they deemed them not commercially viable. A great example of that would be YouTube Creator Studio Classic, right? We know they're phasing that out. We know at any point YouTube might just pull that and it may not be accessible because we'll be using beta now. They weren't referring to
new YouTube.
Right. But they weren't referring to your channel specifically or whether your channel was commercially viable. They just worded it so poorly that it felt like it was
wording wrongly.
And it isn't. It's just them telling us, listen, there may be features that we pull access to because those features aren't commercially viable on the platform.
Perfect. I want to answer this question here from Good Stuff Experiments, who says, is the UK safe from the $42,000 fine from the FTC? Now, here's something. I'm going to let everybody, I'm going to go around the table here, but I want to chime in first and say that the FTC is an American thing. However, YouTube is headquartered out of the US. So they have the full pressure of the FTC. Now, my opinion is if the FTC wants to find someone and they can't reach them because they don't have the legal jurisdiction to go outside of the US, they can just tell YouTube to terminate your channel. Like, that's what I believe is going to happen. Daniel, what do you think is going to happen? If somebody, let's say you're in the Philippines and you violated this and you can't get reached, the FTC cannot fine you.
That's a really tricky question. I think part of what's going on here, and Roberto will probably have a better insight than I will, is YouTube is doing their best to try to accommodate something that the government has dropped on us like a bombshell, right?
Yes.
And the first thing that everyone does is that knee-jerk reaction. They want to know every answer to every specific instance and how it might apply to you. And the truth is we don't have every answer yet. We don't have all the information.
Right.
But the one thing that we do know is that there's been some things that YouTube has done in general that we can take cues from. If someone asked you 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, hey, do you have a kids channel? Do you make kids content? What would your answer be? What would your answer be? Honestly, what would you have said? Don't suddenly decide today.
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what my channel's about.
Am I kid content? I had my kid in one of my videos. Am I now kids content? I think you have to understand that YouTube did some things that gives us some ideas of what at least YouTube standpoint, okay? YouTube recently, with the Sold Children's Channel debacle, started limiting comments on what they considered to be children targeted content. Did your channel get affected by that comment sweep? There's a big indicator. Were you someone who had your comments turned off? If you were, and if you were one of those people, you go, well, I was only half children. But if your comments were affected, there's a big indicator to get an idea of what YouTube thinks about your channel and your content. If you weren't, if it didn't touch you, that's another indicator to say, if you thought you were on that line, but and you didn't get affected at all, then you aren't. I've said all along, you can write any book you want and any kid can walk into a bookstore and pick up any book and read it. That doesn't mean that every book in that bookstore was written for children. Let's try to be realistic here. Let's try to be rational.
But what do you think is going to happen though? Let's say somebody's in Pakistan and the FTC is like, okay, we're going to find this person because somebody's going to be made an example of. Maybe a lot of people. They actually said it's going to be like shooting fish in a barrel.
I think that they're underestimating the consequences of those actions.
But do you think they're going to terminate channels? What do you think is going to happen if they can't be fined?
I think my take on this personally is this is going to be not unlike the investigations going on in our country now, where we have indictments against Russians, that they're out there, but you can't go get them. I think at the end of the day, my biggest concern is not about creators in different countries, because this is a federal law. It's a U.S. federal law. They're very hard to go after creators in different countries. My take, just my take. It's going to be.
I would also assume that they would weigh the financial benefit, because I do believe this is about money. I think they're more likely to go after, say, a Jake Paul.
Yeah,
I'm totally on board.
The random small creator, even though that's what I understand, small creators being fearful of this because it would be financially, even content creators therein. Because here's something I'm passionate about, and you know this, Andrew. I'm passionate about the YouTube middle class, the working class creator, because just because you have a large following doesn't mean you've made it financially, depending on what part of the world you live in. And also, a lot of people are completely uneducated.
Have a good one, Brian.
About the relationship between having a large channel and making a certain amount of money, especially when it comes to the ads. People are woefully uneducated, and that's why I've been more transparent and open and saying, by the way, the numbers that I get on this are abnormal, and that larger content creators with 1 million subscribers make less ad revenue than me, and I can prove it. And they've said it themselves, and I've been making more, or encouraging, I wouldn't say making, I've been encouraging and opening the conversation for more disclosure about that, because I want us to move to this understanding that somebody who is crushing it and has people in our community that have 50, 60, 70, 80,000 subscribers might still be working a 9-to-5 job. And there's this distortion bubble in YouTube that they're making it when financially it's not viable for them and their family. And the FTC is so woefully uneducated about this platform and the culture that I think that they could mistake somebody getting 2 million views a month for somebody that they should go after. And so I'm concerned about that. Is it more likely that they go after someone like Jake or Logan Paul? Yes, but they could just as easily, in looking at the fact that they can rack up this bill for individual videos, looking at someone with a large inventory that gets enough views to be on their radar, and to make an example of saying, hey, you won't skirt under the radar. We are going to apply this quote unquote equally, because they also have the smoke screen, and this is why they went with COPPA for this versus anything else. Because think about how many times they've dragged Google into court now, and this is the only gotcha moment that they've gotten. They've tried antitrust, they've tried everything, and the only thing that has worked has been COPPA, because they're able to use the children, like I said, as a meat shield to get this done.
Thank you, El Jefe. Thank you, brother. Thanks for the super chat.
And that's where my concern is that this gives them the leverage to start doing other things. Now, if you're a content creator, my answer is just like Daniel said. If you know you haven't been doing children's content this whole time, then what changed for you, right?
Right.
But also with the people who used to do edgy content, I've asked them to say, hey, in good faith, when you get a yellow dollar sign, can you tell me that your content is suitable for all advertisers? Is it suitable for every Procter and Gamble company in the Midwest that has Christian values? Yes or no? Tell me that to my face. I've told people to stop taking demonetization personally, and I've told them that I do understand. As a business person, I understand. But be honest. Be honest with yourself about whether or not your platform, your content is a good vehicle, acting in good faith, and is a good vehicle for brands. And if it's not a good vehicle for all brands, what brands is it a good vehicle for? And have you put yourself in a position to work with them directly and to get them to do direct advertising with you? Because, by the way, they can do that by purchasing ads against your channel, not just sponsoring you. And they are willing to do that if you actually start a dialogue, or you advocate for them in social media, or you shout them out. You shouldn't be surprised that almost every brand I've ever worked with has done an ad buy against my channel, even after we're no longer working together.
Right.
So every brand that I've done affiliate marketing for probably has done an ad buy against my channel. You shouldn't be surprised by that. And every one of you could work in that way instead of getting in the weeds. And I understand it's emotional. I'm emotional about it. It's not even affecting me, and I'm pissed for you. But you have to make practical considerations to protect your business. And I think that you have to design a business model that's insulated from ad revenue. And that's what I've been trying desperately to teach all of you. And the problem is you only watch my videos on how to grow a YouTube channel.
Yeah, right. That's the thing that people are interested in. And that's the painful truth. I also want to say that I think in terms of who they go after, because you touched on, there could be some confusion. Okay, they've got 2 million views. They might be making a ton of money. Let's go after them. I think there's definitely going to be some confusion there. But I think it just makes sense. It's the government. It doesn't make sense for them to go after small channels with 100 subscribers when they could go after corporations. They could go after huge channels that they know they can collect from.
There.
You can find people, but if
court of public opinion, they'll use that in the court of public opinion.
Yeah, but if you can't collect, it doesn't make it doesn't make sense to go after somebody. If I know I can't collect from Daniel, right? I'm like, I know I cannot get money, and this is a true story. I know I cannot get money from Daniel Batal.
But if we don't stand up to them and fight them, here's my thing. That sucks, dude. That's cold, brother. But here's
that was
my
a joke. That was a joke.
But I'm
not joking. I still owe him $40.
But here's my problem. If we don't stand up for them, if they go after Jake Paul, no one's gonna say anything. But if we don't stand up, if they go after Disney, no one's gonna say anything because they're gonna say, "Oh, good for them." They shouldn't be targeting kids. But it won't stop with Jake and Logan and Disney and Marvel. It won't. If you think that, you're naive. So
it's gonna start there. It's gonna start there.
It's gonna start there because they can win on that in the court of public opinion and they can get the money. But once they start there, there's nothing. If we don't speak up then how are we going to, this is why I said, hey, get the celebrities and get the biggest creators talking about this, because if we don't stand up to them now, if we don't put pressure on them now, if we don't change the public narrative around COPPA, if we don't dictate the narrative around COPPA, they'll dictate it and they'll paint anybody who's not on board with this as not being for children and only being out for themselves and being part of greed and part of wanting to exploit people. The government does this all the time. They always paint the narrative that they want, and they have the resources to do that. And the thing is, the media is not our ally in this fight because they are directly competing with the Googles and the Facebooks and the TikToks for traffic and for ad revenue. So if you think that they're going to do fair, unbiased reporting about this issue and speak up for us, like I have a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. So it's on us.
Wait. Do you really have a bridge? Because I'm looking for a bridge in Brooklyn.
Alex Express, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Alex.
I just want to elaborate on there. And I'm not an alarmist kind of guy. I try to tell people, when these things pop up, it's really easy to get excited about it. And when we don't know all the information, it's easy to go to the full extreme and worry about what the worst case scenario is. But the one thing that did concern me, and I believe it was Joseph Simons, as the representative of the FTC, who came out and spoke, who said that he felt that targeting individual creators would set an example, almost as if he had decided in his mind that it was going to happen before he'd actually done this scouring of the platform. And that's the thing that makes me nervous. When you go in saying, listen, we're going to grab a bunch of you and make examples of you, that's when I get a little nervous and go, wait.
How do you think this guy is?
Somebody, you will.
How old do you think this guy is?
55 to 65.
He has no understanding of internet culture because that was dangerous. And I'm not saying anything in a certain way. I don't want myself to be misconstrued. But if I were him, I would have never done that and never publicly done that if my name is out there. I don't think this man understands what the dark web is. I don't think he understands hacker culture. I don't understand. I don't think he understands that what doxing is and that.
Not that we're advocating any of that.
I'm afraid for him. Because I think this is a bad idea, and he didn't look at what happened to Ajit Pai with the ruling on net neutrality, and I think that was woefully naive to go out and make that statement in that way. Same thing for the guy who said fish in a barrel. Like that was a terrible idea. I would never publicly put myself in that position if I understood anything about the internet.
He doesn't understand the internet. He doesn't, or he wouldn't say that.
Net neutrality was an interesting one to bring up. I mentioned that in the chat earlier. The government was very quick to say, we're going to allow companies to utilize the data they collect from users across the web to profit for the internet companies out there like Comcast and so forth. They were very quick to pull those walls down and say, hey, get the
deregulate
you want with it. So to get a ruling from the FTC this time, which
is the most hypocritical thing in the world.
Is kind of interesting.
Hey guys, let me pause you guys for a second. Let's squash right now some of the rumors that are floating around, because I see one right here that just came in that says the FTC is already removing people from YouTube.
No.
All right. So, Andrew, why don't you take this one first? Has anything happened yet? Has any channels been terminated? Has anyone been fined? Is anyone getting removed? Go.
Currently, no. The only thing that's taking channels off of the platform is people doing it themselves in fear and not using the best information we have at this time to make smart decisions going forward. And as I keep saying, the sheer panic is what like hurts me the most, is seeing so many creators just so afraid of their livelihoods. Don't panic yet. Keep calm and create on.
Yeah.
Keep calm and create on.
Keep calm and create on. I love it. We should be concerned, and it's okay to be passionate, and it's okay to be concerned. It's not okay to panic, and it's not okay. And my problem is, some of the biggest creators on the platform are sensationalizing this for views. And you have certain genres of YouTube that are sensationalizing this for views and making people panic and helping with the false spread of information. Do you realize how many big creators went and shot off their mouth about the YouTube deleting your channel for not being commercially viable? It's like, did I not read 3 hours of the terms of service last year for 3 hours and suffer through that and explain to you that YouTube has always had the ability to terminate your channel at their own discretion without cause, not unlike a right to work state contract, like that they've always had that power and they've rarely ever enforced it. And that like, even when people complained about Alex Jones, I actually showed them proof that Alex Jones had more latitude than any small YouTuber would ever have in that situation with regard to copyright strikes, not copyright strikes, community guideline strikes. And I showed them examples of smaller YouTubers who had been terminated for less. So it wasn't that they were, they're censoring him because of his political beliefs. They were actually, if anything, because of his political beliefs, gave him more latitude because of his name and exposure than any small YouTuber would ever be given in terms of benefit of the doubt, because I've seen small channels terminated over nonsense before. And I've hit YouTube about that. I've seen channels over mistakes be terminated and have to be restored. And I've fought for that publicly in Twitter with YouTube.
Sure.
Everyone thinks I'm a YouTube shill, and I've fought with them specifically for those false copyright strikes, false community strikes, and false positives.
Roberto, so if there's one rumor that you've seen circulating right now that you want to squash, what would that be? Because there's a ton of them going around right now.
Oh God, where to begin? I would say
that YouTube's closing in 2020.
Well,
yeah.
Anyone who thinks
pick one.
Ignorant.
Daniel, do you have any rumors that you've seen, Daniel, that you want to squish right
we've
here?
Seen a couple already show up in chat. There was, in general rumors are just specific to COPPA.
Either or, because there's a lot of stuff floating around right now.
We've seen these rumors that YouTube is going to be removing channels from the platform because their content isn't commercially viable. Stop. They're not doing that.
Or that they're removing the content itself. No, they're not.
That's a big one. And in terms of this right here, I think you just have to, as though it's not a specific rumor, I think that the over panic thing and the way that the FTC is coming in, YouTube has come out and said in their announcements that they're giving 4 months to sort of comply, get things announced, so people understand. So we had this
and give creators time to talk to their legal counsel and to get information.
Yeah. Roberto, do you know the date? Was it September 19th that the original announcements with the 4-month window came in?
September 9th.
It was actually before that.
It's not eons ago, so we're still within that 4-month period.
They like 4 months. It's 4 months from September, I believe. It won't go into effect until January, honestly. But they gave us the heads up on that actually quite sooner than that, or maybe it was some of us.
It was some of us, Roberto, unfortunately, which that's a communication problem we're not going to get into.
Yeah, we won't. But like,
I want to take the super chat really quick. Macy says, why doesn't YouTube just move its headquarters away from the U.S. and avoid all of these issues? That's easier said than done. A lot of people look, having a business in the United States, it's a great place to have a business. It's not the best place for taxes, but it's a great place to have a business. That's where they are organized. That's where they set up shop. They do have offices all over the world. They have an office here in Thailand. They have offices everywhere. They're not going to just say, hey, because here's the thing.
Not pack up.
Right. Google's not going to pack up and leave. I mean, they did pack up and leave China, but they're not going to pack up and leave the United States. Right. But here's the thing. The FTC could still put their hands on it because servers are in the United States. You know what I mean? Like that, the traffic has to come through the United States. So they could still get their hands on that and control what's happening if they really wanted to.
They're lucky
So-
I'm not in charge of Google. They're lucky I'm not Sundar Pichai, because the thing is, I would just literally hold everything hostage at that point, and I would just I would even if I was a tech billionaire, I'd risk going to jail, and I would leak all the politicians' data and let the public eat them alive.
We're not recommending that.
We're not
recommending that.
I'm not recommending that.
We're not
I'm just saying,
recommending that.
If I were Sundar Pichai, I'd be the Legion of Doom. I'd be a
But
supervillain.
since
In a
you
theoretical
are
universe,
in this
Roberto would just be a supervillain.
hypothetical situation, the CEO of Google, can you fix my iPhone problems? Or just really getting
exactly
to
right. Like, and again, I'm just saying, if they want to play chicken, because I'm making the point of like, oh, you're saying that what if they moved out of the U.S. One, why would they do that? That's not financially advantageous, and that's not going to give us better service. That's not going to help the average consumer. And then the reality is that we have a new 21st century economy where every single one of us has the potential now to become a job creator, not just an entrepreneur. We can actually build up our own communities, and we can actually literally change the world. How many content creators have literally been able to inspire and build entire companies and industries? Look at what happened with all these great communities of content creators who now have these. Oh wait, now it's just me.
You deserve full screen on this one. Go.
Okay, think about all the amazing and great content creators who have built wonderful businesses that employ people. Think about all these amazing content creators who have helped raise money for charity. Look at what Mr. Beast is doing. Mr. Beast has literally helped plant 16 million trees that are going to have a global impact in the world and galvanize the entire revolution around environmentalism, and did something and done more for the environment and more to inspire this generation to make a difference in the world than any politician of our time. Let's really look at that. And do we want those opportunities to be denied to other people? Okay, we live in a 21st century economy, and I would encourage content creators to make their voice heard. And I really think that we might have to get ourselves involved with the government at this point. As much as we don't like politics, and I hate politics with a passion, we cannot ignore it when the politicians go into our wallet and into our communities and into our businesses without having that conversation with us. We can't ignore it anymore. We can't sit on the fence and the sidelines. I refuse to support any politician that doesn't support a free and democratized internet and doesn't support a 21st century economy for entrepreneurs and freedom of expression and freedom for the arts. And I refuse, regardless of any party line that you want to draw, I refuse to support any politician that does not protect the 21st century economy and does not support our ability to use these platforms at our discretions, because the best hands are still our own. The best hands to protect this, to govern this, to hold this power are still our own. Give it back to the people, not to the government. And so any politician that's not on board with that, I don't care if they're a Democrat or Republican, a purple people eater, I'm not going to support them. And I would encourage every content creator to draw that line in the sand and to abandon whatever your political leaning or ideology is and to fight for a 21st century economy and a 21st century internet.
So for those asking where Daniel Batal went, his energy was absorbed into Dark Roberto so that he could give great information.
One of us had to be sacrificed in order for Roberto to let that out. So we decided it was going to be Daniel. So actually, the person who has the controls here in the admin gets to decide who's going to be absorbed. And that was sorry, Daniel.
Before I'm gone.
You were sacrificed for the cause.
You were sacrificed for the cause, my friend. So there's a super chat that came in, and I'm running a delay right now here on my end, but I can see it on my iPad. This one comes from Max Good RC 4x4. Thanks for the super chat. They say, how can a channel like mine that has adult hobbies, and it's RC 4x4s, how can a channel like mine that has adult hobbies combat these algorithms? Also, can combat these algorithms as these toys are made for 14 and over. So because you have a channel based on toys, even though it's for adults, how do you recommend, guys, that they move forward with this?
So
Our
I've been
friend Optimus has this issue.
Optimus, yes. So I've been actually dealing with him. I've been helping other people as well. I haven't actually gotten to talk to him. He's very busy with his own personal life, but I've talked to other toy related channels and other collectible channels, which I think is an important distinction. Collectibles are different than toys, but anything that you're doing to show to an adult audience, the first thing I would recommend is make sure you mark it not as, and then if it comes back, you need to actually appeal it, because that is how YouTube learns. Like that's what we had to do with demonetization.
For this, Andrew, I saw it.
That is something that I've seen on some channels have the option to. It's YouTube rollout.
So they're select. So okay, maybe that's changed, and now they're rolling out a thing, but they haven't.
It's select.
What I saw on the help was that there wasn't an appeal, and that concerned me greatly.
So from what I saw, and this could just be, I believe it's just optional rollout. Like the thing about YouTube is please stop optional rollouts and just roll it out. Like I rather have the feature to give you immediate feedback than go, it's okay.
Okay, so here's a question. So O'Macy says, first of all, thanks for the super chat. They say, what are the chances that these changes don't apply by January? Could the FTC drop out completely?
They'll delay it, if anything. I don't foresee them dropping it out, and there may be revisions, but they'll delay and revise well before, because the government doesn't usually just drop anything, and they don't usually back down. The same thing happened with net neutrality. I think if we look to net neutrality as our primary example of this, that gives us a roadmap for how this plays out.
Yeah, I agree.
We could use our pressure your state politicians on this as content creators, especially if you're a hometown hero and you've created jobs and you pay a lot of state taxes. I hate to say it, content creators are going to have to do what other entrepreneurs and businesses have done. Other businesses, they start donating to their local politicians, and they start getting a seat at the table, and they start making their voice heard, and we might have to go that route.
So one thing I see from Tara Lee Live says, does this only affect channels that are monetizing? That it currently, from my understanding, affects anyone who's uploading to the platform, because even if you don't make money from the monetization, there still is ads running on your content. Shocker. Unless you mark do not run ads, they're probably going to be running ads.
Yeah, this is going to apply to everyone across the board.
And even if you don't monetize, it would still affect your features being limited.
Yes.
True.
Yes, absolutely. And in terms of what I think could happen, could the FTC drop out? I'm totally on board with Roberto on this one. The government doesn't back down. There's probably going to be some revisions. And there could be, if somebody steps forward when this actually takes place, when this is effective, somebody might come forward and try to sue, and there could be an injunction that's brought upon this to pause things. But they're not going to just.
Content creators in America all got together and filed a class action suit, I'd be very happy, because it could happen. They'd probably win, and they win.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you, Heidi. Appreciate that. But yeah, that could happen, and you don't know who's going to come out of the shadows. It could be somebody that you're not even thinking of. You never know where this is going to happen. But the government generally doesn't back down. That's pretty much something you can count on. Revisions, yes.
I definitely think there are going to be revisions, Heidi. And I think it's not if there's going to be revisions, it's when the revisions hit. Are we as creators going to be invited to the conversation? And it's not invited. We need to force ourselves into the conversation, because anything throughout history that you wanted change, you had to put yourself there by sheer amount of you can't ignore us right now.
Yes.
I think that if the narrative is shifted to how this is censorship by the government because you're removing communication tools from the hands of the user, then that puts them in a very awkward position and forces them to open up the dialogue, because with it just being concerned parent groups that are in favor of COPPA and are concerned, and then the government, and then a select few creators, that's and then the creators may not be able to articulate the points that they need to, and may not have the background. J-House Vlogs is a great advocate for us, but he may not be visible enough. But if the conversation narrative changes to, hey, maybe we aren't all for all these tech oligarchs, but if we're concerned about them silencing people, shouldn't we be more concerned about the government pressuring them to literally take away people's voice? Sure. And if that narrative shifts and the largest content creators in this platform and a few celebrities speak out, and my current thing is I'm experimenting with the hashtag COPPA is censorship, that, because again, I really have genuine concerns about the constitutionality of that, because if the argument's been made that these are private corporations and so they're not a public forum. But I've heard people who are worried about free speech argue that yes, they are, and in a 21st century, if you aren't on these platforms, you don't exist. If that argument, I don't know if that argument is good, but let's say for the sake of argument it was, censorship is something that governments do, not private corporations.
Yes.
But if the government leverages a private corporation to take away your voice by not allowing you a comment section, not allowing you and your viewers to be able to communicate back and forth, that's a problem. That's not any different than them coming and taking your cell phone. Okay? It's really not. And you built that, and YouTube built that. That's private property. They had no hand in building it, and they are intervening now. That is called censorship. So there's no two ways about it. There's no two ways about it.
Yep,
but
I agree.
If we raise that flag and that narrative, that's how we can delay this, and that's how we can move forward, and that's how we can force our way into the conversation, because we can ask them. Because here's the thing. If you ask a government official, why are you punishing a viewer? Why are you punishing the average consumer? Why are you taking away their ability to interact with a content creator? Why are you silencing them? Because how do you answer that?
Right.
How do you answer that if you're a government official? How do you answer, you took away a communication tool from a private citizen? How do you respond?
That's exactly what's happening here. They're taking away communication tools from private citizens. That's exactly what's happening, man.
Let me go with that, and let's be proactive as a community, because that's what I'm for. I'm for proactive movement here, because so many people. I agree with a lot of what you said yesterday, Roberto. And one of the things you said, which I really agreed with, is the ability to disable timestamps in videos per the user's request, and maybe only allowing the user themselves to put up the timestamps. So the reason I agree with that is for children's content. It was people that were going back to parts in videos, creating, illegal playlists and things. Yes. I'm working on a piece right now, which is features I want, and I'm going to tweet it out like a list, because here's what I've heard from many times from YouTube. I'm happy to work with you on that, by the way. Please do. And here's the thing. YouTube listens to the send feedback in the studio beta. That team has had more power than I think a lot of people recognize, because they are actively, one, on platform, two, actually uploading content, and three, they are like the people that run that channel are really into the system. So what I'm going to work on, and I've been working on this, is we need to suggest features that can help with this as well, because if we suggest it, they're more likely to implement it. And if we have more control over our comments, a lot of the issues that people have with losing their comments, like you said yesterday, Roberto, are eradicated. And that's what I'm working on.
Yes. Don't allow us to decide whether anyone, and not just for children's content, by the way, because of the harassment and the things that happen to female content creators as well with this, allow us to decide whether or not end users in our community can add videos to playlist at all. Private, public, allow for private, public, or unlisted playlist. We should be able to control whether or not our content is repurposed in that way, because it's our intellectual property. So give us that control over our community interaction in that way and how our content is used. Furthermore, like you said, give us the ability within the comments, like we said, to eliminate the ability for people to use timestamps except for us to be able to help our viewers, and limit it that way. Give us that ability, and give us as viewers and consumers the ability to have a text bubble, so that if we report not only a piece of content, but if we report a comment, allow us to contextualize our concerns. That way there is a catalog and a record of unsavory or unsafe or inappropriate behavior, so that when action needs to be taken place, that there are resources and there is a catalog and a history here. That's not a very hard thing to implement. I can write that code. Like, it's not that hard. And it would be very smart, and it would be very good for us to have that. And
which is why I'm working on that document to send to them, because here's the thing. Working with YouTube, like at TubeBuddy, I get access to like work with a lot of people there. So like I know, like I have been lucky enough to work with them, and they do listen to feedback. But the problem they have is, like any other company, they need scale, right? Like
and
if one
implementation. Most people give feedback that has no good implementation.
Yes, which is why if we have if we all can, like that's why I'm working on this document, and it's. If we send the similar feedback over and over and over again, it goes up the rankings and becomes undeniable, which is what we need to be, undeniable in our efforts to say we care, we matter, and and you can't ignore our voice.
Exactly. I like that. So I love it, Andrew.
I loved it too. I want to hit a rumor real quick. So this person says, if we don't pay the fine of $42,000, we might go to court or go to jail. So nobody's going to go to jail over this if you can't pay. And here's the thing. I mean, first of all, it depends on what country that you're in. But if the FTC does fine you, you could end up in court over it. You definitely have the right, if you're in the United States, to try to fight that. So you could definitely end up in court, but nobody's going to go to jail over that. Nobody's going to lose their freedom
Klein,
over that.
When he was having his financial and legal battle with, I believe it was, who was it, Andrew, that Ethan Klein backed, the big copyright thing that established fair use as a president? Something, it was like Matt Haas, I believe.
Yes.
All right, so Matt Haas. He established something called FUPA, which I believe stands for the Fair Use Protection Association, and it was to help content creators with their financial and legal issues with regard to fair use content. And
Thanks
I
for the
think
super
that we
chat,
need
Radio
to form
Dawn.
a similar organization. I think we need to form a similar organization to make our voice heard when it comes to government regulation of our platform and social media as a whole. Is we need to get the largest content creators behind this. We need to self-fund it as individuals, the same way we would all donate to a grassroots campaign. And we need to fund and build and raise money for an organization that puts us in a position that if content creators are fined, and if they need to go up against the government, that we have the resources to protect one another with this pooled money. And we also need to consider that we might have to build a class action suit against the federal government and the FTC, and we have to be prepared to go to war with them if that's what it takes. And by that I mean legally. Like when I say go to war, I mean go to the mattresses and get our lawyers involved. And we need to unify and galvanize the community in a proactive way around this, because without us having an actual lobby as of yet and a formal organization, it is very hard for them to take us seriously, because until we do, we're just the internet.
Thank you, Duty Ron.
Thank you, Duty Ron. I appreciate you, man.
So here, go ahead, D.
I was just going to say, I'm silently hoping over here. I'm hoping that, because this is, there's a lot of companies on YouTube as well. Look at Disney. Look at all the things that Disney has. For example, I like to keep using them because some of these companies, they have the money and the legal teams to be able to combat this if they want to. If they start feeling the effects of this, they could really take them to the mat on this.
Look at Nickelodeon and Viacom.
Nickelodeon, right?
They have a huge stake in this. They own the largest conference in the space, so they have a huge emotional
Imagine
and
how we've come full circle from Viacom. We've come full circle. Viacom being the death of YouTube, and now Viacom.
Now they're
the only ones who can save us.
They save us. Help us, Viacom. You're our
that? That's amazing.
Right? But that's the reverse of the Batman quote, where it's like they lived long enough to become the hero.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Help us.
Maybe you should just start as the villain.
Right.
And if you live long enough, you get to be seen as the hero.
Yeah, we got to update. It's kind of like the people only say curiosity killed the cat. They forget the second half. Apparently, we're writing a second half now.
Right.
But yeah, no. It's funny. Thank you for that, MG Art. Appreciate you. Always love my artists here on YouTube. But yeah, think about it like this. Viacom owns VidCon and Awesomeness TV. They have the largest stable, I believe, of large content creators that do children's directed content. Yeah. So I'm really curious about what their army of Mr. Burns lawyers are. I'm release the lawyers.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. That's kind of what I'm thinking might happen. When this takes effect, you might see some of these companies stepping up and handling this, because they're going to get hit hard.
And also, I saw a point from Beanie who's I don't think Disney cares about YouTube. They still owned Maker, which then became Disney Digital to a point. So they had stake in an MCN point. And because of the law and how it works, Disney is, whether they like it or not, they're super into the YouTube ecosystem. Whether they like it is not important. They're on it, right? So they'll get affected all the same. So it's not so much if they like it. They're here, so they will be affected.
Well, think about this. Even look at it on a smaller scale. How many millions of views does a Disney trailer get?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And think of how many movies and how many shows that are coming out now with Disney Plus, that they're going to be using YouTube to promote this stuff like crazy. And everything that appeals to children, guess what? They're dead in the water.
In fact, a lot of the top channels, people don't realize a lot of the top viewed channels, not the most subscribed, but the top viewed channels, properties, or creators under Disney Digital, which is the initiative that took over Maker. And so you have data of that if you know what you're looking for when you go into Social Blade.
Yeah.
What a weird world we're in, where independent creators are clamoring to giant corporations to like save us. It's like what a weird place we've come.
But you're fighting a monster.
Together. We're fighting together.
You're fighting the FTC. Like that's going to take something so huge. You know what I mean? That's going to take
the
an
FTC
enormous...
a Hydra. You cut off one head, two more come back.
I love
it.
The
FTC
Hydra.
is
I love it.
Oh God.
I love it.
Watch this. So the FTC won't let me be, wants to treat YouTube like it's TV. They tried to mess with me and Brian G. It'll be so empty without me.
I love it.
See what I
just did? We got to get all the experts on a massive diss track.
I'm telling you,
small
man.
YouTuber Will Smith. We got to get this going.
FTC won't let me be. Here, drop that one more time. I'm going to zoom you in. Let it rip, man. Go.
Right.
Go.
Let me see if I can remember how to do it. So the FTC won't let me be, wants to treat YouTube like it's TV. They tried to mess with me and Brian G. It would be so empty without me.
I love that. That's so good.
Channeling my inner Eminem there.
That's so good. So real quick, Roberto, remember what you said earlier where I said, what would you tweet out to Will Smith? So Daniel Batal actually went back and he wrote it out. So I'm going to paste something in the chat right now. This is what Roberto said earlier. We were talking, if you're just joining us, I asked Roberto, if you were to try to get celebrities involved, because Will Smith is on YouTube, Jack Black is on YouTube, there's a lot of celebrities on YouTube. If you were to reach out to them, because people listen to celebrities, right? If you were to reach out to them, what would you say? What would you tweet them, Roberto? And what I'm going to post right now in the chat is what he said he would tweet at Will Smith. So feel free to copy and paste that and tweet that out to any celebrity that you know of on YouTube. You never know. All it takes is one person to come in. Jablinski, where you at, man? You never know. All it takes is one person to bring attention to it. So yeah, get on it.
And again, one thing we said a little earlier, kind of jokingly, like if you've ever thought of creators to bring into a zombie apocalypse that you'd want to like help protect you, this is the time. Like bring in creators you want to voice opinions against this ruling.
There's a fake Dee Nimmin in the account right now, by the way, or in the chat. That's funny.
You've made it.
Susie Valentine.
My job is done.
Yeah, Susie Valentine had a great comment a little bit earlier. She mentioned that she's part of a realtor action fund, and this would probably represent a video creator action fund. I love that. I love that name, Video Creator Action Fund, and that gives us the latitude to apply our leverage collectively to multiple issues. So I like that, and that would definitely put us in a very strong position until we're able to get some more formal organization in the form of a lobby, because I don't think a creators union will get the job done. And I know that a lot of people are building a YouTubers union to try to pressure YouTube to disclose the algorithm, which is never going to happen. That's proprietary, and you're not owed AdSense. I mean, there's a reason that there's not an Instagrammers union. There's a reason that nobody goes after TikTok. And I hate to say this, and this is a larger problem because we can deal with the issues of limiting features, and I don't agree with that. But when it comes to AdSense, here's my issue with us as content creators is our over dependence on this idea of AdSense passive income, when every other influencer, every other content creator, Twitch streamers don't get ad revenue, even though ads run on Twitch. They get donations and they get bits and they get direct subscriptions in the form of memberships similar to our YouTube memberships. So they don't get ad revenue. Instagrammers certainly don't get ad revenue, but ads run on Instagram every day. I buy ad Instagram for my business. Same thing for Facebook. Just started doing a split, but their implementation of it is god awful, and you have in some weird ways much stricter requirements than YouTube.
Yeah.
TikTok, you don't get any ad revenue there, but people are crushing it there, and the Viners learn to hustle brand deals better than all of us, which is why they're all richer than most of the OG YouTubers, is because they started with brand deals and not AdSense. The in a weird way, AdSense is a crutch that makes you less business savvy and less. It makes you more reluctant to become a direct-to-consumer brand and to sell to your audience. It makes you more reluctant to take brand deals. If you had no AdSense, you would absolutely sell products and merch. You would promote it. You'd do more affiliate marketing. You would take absolute ownership of transactional revenue and conditioning your consumers to support you with their wallet, you would start a Patreon. And that's what people, they wait until they're demonetized or until their stuff gets flagged to do this. And then they, and again, I'm not saying that YouTube shouldn't do a better job.
And then it's YouTube ruined my life. YouTube ruined my life. Right. It took away my ads. Yeah. You have to be proactive on this stuff.
But my thing, pragmatically speaking, to do what we call, like Andrew was saying, being proactive is the most proactive thing that any YouTuber can do in your career, especially if you're thinking of being a full-time creator. Never do it if AdSense is your largest revenue stream. And in my opinion, you do not have my permission to quit your day job % of the money that you live off of. You don't have my permission. You don't need my permission, but you certainly don't have it. I would, as your consigliere in this matter, I feel it's ill-advised.
So I've got a question here from the chat that says, this is from Doll Parts Brandy. It says, I am an adult collecting dolls not intended for children. I make videos intended for other adult collectors, but will the FTC see my dolls and fine me if I'm not marked as intended for children? Any opinions?
So what I was saying kind of goes to similar. If you are a collector and you are doing things that are clearly not intended for children, label it as such. Make sure you're being as forthcoming as you can be, because as we said, changes will probably take place from now until then. So right now, at this very moment, you need to, one, label it that way, go against, make sure you are going against what people might think, and be clear, because for example, there was someone earlier who said, I do Disney content, but it's not for kids. Here's the thing. The people that are buying toys are not the kids. It is the parents. It is the adults, right? So that's what you need to make that argument is, I'm not doing these for the children. I am doing these for the parents. I am doing these for fellow collectors like me, and make that clear.
Let me give them the checklist, because I know this is going to keep coming up. Collectors, gamers, anime channels, TV show reviewers. Let me give you the checklist. Here's your checklist. If you in good faith are not making content for kids, in the settings for YouTube for your entire channel and for every video, make it not made for kids. Period. End of story. Step number 2, in your keywords and in your description, write an FTC disclaimer. I'm going, this is not an official and this is not legal advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. In your because see, now I have to worry about the damn regulations and everything. Can I just have a cage match with whoever makes these rules, and can we decide that the winner gets to make the rules?
Let's make it happen.
Can Mike make right? Because I'll just do it. I'll train for this. But anyway, back to the checklist. So it makes your own, and we can try and template this for you. And again, it will not be considered legal advice. You can get your lawyer to do it if you want. I might actually just literally pay my lawyer to make a disclaimer that we can all use. But write something that says this is not intended, disclaimer, this is not intended for children under the age of 13. This is not made for kids. Hashtag not made for kids.
Let's go. Just to add to that, let's go a step further. This should be from YouTube. They should give us, the creator, if you're going to give us this level of control, let us select an option. Do not let this play on YouTube Kids. Cuts a lot of the crap there.
Let us opt out of YouTube Kids.
Yes.
I'm going to tweet them.
Yes.
Let us opt out of YouTube Kids.
Yes.
Let us opt out of YouTube Kids. Let the creators have the power to opt out of YouTube Kids. 1,000% agree, Andrew.
How is that not even? How is that not even a thing?
I'm like, wait, what?
How is that not even a thing? Right? How is that not a thing?
I'm going to tweet them right now. Hey,
how is that not a thing?
In real time. Hey, team.
So Roger Wakefield says, what's the official age for kids on YouTube? Legally, it's 13. You have to be 13 years old.
In the United States of America.
In the United
13 and under is the age for kids. I'll link in the chat the article we're pulling from.
Right. But to create an account, you need to be 13.
Yep.
The problem is, for the United States, it's under the age of 13.
Yes.
Opt out.
Agreed with Beanie. You should message Tom as well from Creator Insider, because if enough, again, that team works hard. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say, man. That team is advocating for us a lot.
Now, here's the thing. So Create Now, Sleep Later says, I get zero views from under the age of 13. It's because we don't get data telling us when there's anyone under the age of 13 watching our content. The data that we get is from 13 and above.
And
so
you know,
get
we
zero
never
views because we don't have that data.
and here's the thing, we never will get that data. And here's why.
They
Because
should just
the
give
whole
us a
reason,
thing that says unknown, and then we can make the assumption that unknown represents that.
pretty much. But here's the problem. They will never be able to, and people are like, why don't they just give us the range of 0 to 13? That's the whole reason COPPA happened, is they're not allowed to collect data like that from minors.
Right.
So don't recommend that, because that's what brought us here. So it's
part of my
understandable.
argument is this. Okay, so if I take my entire collective audience and number of views for the data we do have, and then subtract from the data we do have from the cumulative total, the remainder is people who aren't logged in, which means and people that data is not tracked on, which means reasonably some percentage of that could be considered that, and that will be the absolute minority unless it's not, and then that's your proof right there, and that's empirical.
Yeah.
Because if you subtract the total from the data available, anything unknown, it's like, great, you guys can count that and say 100% of what's unknown is probably that, even though it's not. But let's be generous. And guess what? It wasn't even 10%, homie, so F you. Like,
yeah. And like one thing I know all of us can probably speak to this is like, we could say they're not watching our content, but like what I've learned at VidCon, or I've learned at any of these conferences, you really don't know who's watching your content. Like I've had little kids come up to me and they know me, and it's interesting because like that's just the beauty of the power of YouTube. And what's sad to me is that the beauty of the internet is, instead of seeing it for the good it is, it's getting taken for the small misdemeanors that has happened. And that's why, again, voicing the good is just as important as making sure we're airing out what we have a problem with.
Yes.
Because I feel like that's something we keep, like when everyone's panicking, we forget all the good. Like it is important to remember the 20 million trees initiative. It is, hashtag Team Trees and all that, because I think that's what's getting lost right now in panic is like, yes, there have been some bad, but the good is way more than any of the bad.
Disproportionately outweighs the bad. And I would argue that there are more pressing issues that if they are really concerned about the protection of children online, because you know what they didn't announce in this? They didn't announce any more they didn't announce anything more in terms of consequences for people who are unsavory people who commit crimes against children online. They didn't, I didn't see anything in this about, so what happens if we find somebody who is, abusing children online or doing some things that they shouldn't be doing? I haven't seen any additional consequences for that. I see there being fines for not labeling content. So you're making this, because they're making this entire thing about data collection and advertising, which is not an actual child's problem.
No, or is it a creator's problem?
It's not. And by the way, if the government wants to go after these organizations for data collection, the government should disclose all the data they've collected on us first. I know that's a bigger and broader issue, but it's the hypocrisy that I can't really shut up about or stand, is the simple fact that you cannot sit there and fine companies for collecting data on children when the government certainly collects data on children and every other individual.
Yes.
And unlike YouTube, Google, Facebook, TikTok, you can't ask the government, you can't click a button, go to the .gov, click a button and download everything the government has on you. I can download every piece of data that I've ever put on YouTube. I can download every tweet.
Yes.
I can download every Facebook.
Preach.
I can get all of my
Let
data.
it go.
I trust these companies more than I trust the government for a reason. And it's because I at least have that option. And I can opt out of using these companies and giving them my data. I can't opt out of the government collecting data on me.
Yep.
CJ knows tech. What's going on, man?
Welcome, CJ.
Sorry about that. I'm just pissed. I can't with these guys. I can't with these jokers. I can't accept that this is in good faith and that this does anything to help children. And I can't believe
because
that there are
people
people who are naive enough.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: they have support from a lot of child protections groups and everything like that who are naive enough.
Of course they do. Of course they're going to get support because there's money. There's money around all of this stuff. These organizations have to continue being fed, so everybody's going to jump on board when there's money involved.
But there are parents that have literally tweeted at me disagreeing with, which I respect that they might have a differing point of view, but I'm just going to remind them that, look, I may not be a parent, and that's the thing that people use to discredit me in this conversation is, well, you're not a parent, you don't understand, and aren't you the guy who says that your parents are right about you'll understand when you're older? My parents got divorced when I was in my teens. I've been a big brother 3 times. I understand it's not the same thing as being a parent, but I don't think that I fought for my siblings any less aggressively and viciously than any parent would for a child. And I was there literally from almost every single one of them being delivered in the case of my 2 youngest siblings, I was there in the delivery room. Okay. So I ended up growing up in a single parent home, and when we were old enough for me to take over and not need childcare, I was the one who was there when my mom was working those late night shifts, and I'm the one, even though I was a kid that understood the tech the best, and I'm the one who put the child filters and the pornography filters in our local area network. I was the one watching over their shoulder like a hawk when my mom couldn't, and everything like that. So I have just as much of a right to talk about this as anybody when it comes to that.
Can we just talk for a moment about how these under the age of 13 are even getting on YouTube in the first place?
A lot of their parents letting them.
Exactly. A lot of them are coming on board using their parents' phones, using their parents' iPads. You see it. I know everybody in here sees that. You're out somewhere and you see some parent hand their kid an iPad.
So like, I'll speak from this at a different angle, because here's the thing.
Yeah.
I joined YouTube at 11. I wasn't allowed to be on platform. I'll just put that out here.
Oh my God, Andrew, I'm reporting you.
Go for it. But here's the thing. It's not even on this channel anyway. I joined on the channel I'm at 19, so I'm fine on that. But the thing is, the fact is you cannot stop children from finding a way onto the platform. That's just the reality of the situation. However, what you need to actually do, and this is something that I think isn't getting enough credit or getting enough attention, is if you are a parent and you are fighting against YouTube, you must take a little bit of responsibility that you let your child access the platform. Now,
and here's the things. It can be a good thing, Andrew. It can be a good thing, because how many families have been lifted out of poverty by sharing their experience and their life on YouTube? And how many families have gotten support for their kids and built a community around their kids from this thing? And how many kids have been able to retire their parents because of their content on YouTube? Are we really going to deny opportunities to young people, creative people, for freedom of expression and arts when they do this with their parents' permission? The ones who do this with their parents' permissions, are we going to really do that and try to say that we're going to stop them from having this glorious opportunity because the world is a dark and scary place? That doesn't sound very American or capitalistic or fair to me.
And here's the thing. YouTube is a beautiful thing. Like, the ability for a child to share their ideas and get feedback shouldn't be discredited. But as a parent, you should be there. You need to be there every step of the way. Because I'll be honest, I should not have been on YouTube at 11. I am glad that that channel has been deleted since. Because here's the thing. You know, Roberto, you talked about making 100 crappy videos. I'm still making crappy videos, but one day I'll find that success.
Your videos are actually quite good.
Thank you. I put that out there because, like, here's the thing. As a kid, they're always going to have interest. Like, it's the number one job in schools that kids want, is to be a YouTuber. And I have mixed opinions on that. But my thing is,
we can't change the culture.
We can't change the culture.
It is right.
And we need
that ship has sailed.
And we need to have what we need to do is make it better for those kids wanting to be on this platform, make it better for parents to understand this platform easier. And that's where I think going to YouTube, being proactive, which is what I keep saying. Roberto talks about being active as well. Like, all three of us are saying we need to stop panicking and start getting active.
Yeah. And by the way, I understand if you're angry or upset or fearful, because I'm angry. I'm very angry, as you guys know. Angry Roberto is here. Angry Roberto is here. But I still am then taking a breath, being rational, and coming up with fixes as best as I can, and thinking about what we can do as a community to make this better for everybody. And again, I'm not an anti-government whack job. I just don't like hypocrisy. I don't like, you think YouTube is vague, the government's more vague. If you don't trust YouTube with vague terms of service, you can't really take the government at face value on any of this. And again, I look at what they did with net neutrality and the hypocrisy of saying we're going to not regulate these telecommunication companies that have massive infrastructure and more power to censor people, and they charge us money. Companies, they decided to not regulate companies that charge you and I money for access to the internet, but they want to regulate platforms that give us freedom of expression and freedom of choice and allow us to have a voice in matters and give us broadcast capabilities with no gatekeepers. That is something we should really hold them to task for.
By the way, Costume Co. tweeted that Roberto's words to Jack Black, so it has begun.
So I looked. I can't find Will Smith on Twitter, but
it.
I can find it at Jack Black is. I can't find Will Smith. Maybe I've somehow just am missing it, but I can't find him on Twitter. Interestingly enough,
on Twitter. Or not.
But I do want to say, because we are having a lot of people starting to say we should be focusing on the solution, not the problems. Like, that's it. Like, let's focus on the solutions, not the problems.
Okay, guys. So let's
some of the checklist stuff. Go ahead.
Go for it.
Yeah. Let's do something real quick here because I'm going to have to wrap it up in a little bit. It's 1:30 a.m. here. I'm not a day walker like you guys are, right? So yeah. Well,
Poor Dee.
Yeah. So if Andrew, let's start with you.
Okay.
For people who are panicking right now and they're on the fence, what should I do? Some of my videos are this, some of my videos. What's one piece of advice that you would give people in the chat right now who are absolutely just panicking? Because there's so many questions. What should I do? What should I do? What would you do? What's your advice? Doesn't have to be one piece. Just go. Just give your advice.
My advice is be proactive. Use tools that can help you do things like add that my content is not currently intended for children, and then be active in labeling not for children. Do what you can with the tools provided. And then, as I said, I'm working on a list of requests to be added to YouTube Studio. Make requests to have better controls, things such as opting out of being on YouTube Kids. Make sure you're being proactive, not reactive, because when you're reactive, you feel like you're powerless. Be proactive.
Roberto, go.
Absolutely. As a content creator, take these steps with your actual content. If you believe in good faith that you are not making children's directed content intended for children, then say that you're not making it in your settings channel wide. If you feel you need to do it on a case-by-case basis, then do that. Go to, and this is a slight plug, go to tubebuddy.com/awesome, download TubeBuddy, and use the bulk find replace feature in TubeBuddy. And you'll want to use this to go through all of your content and add the following to your description. Not made for kids, safe for work, and SFW, which also stands for safe for work. You'll want to add that to your tags if you haven't used all of your available tags, and you'll want to add something like that to your description. Write your own disclaimer or contact your lawyer or a YouTube lawyer like Ian Corzine or Legal Eagle and see if they can provide you with some type of legalese disclaimer to say that your content is not intended for children and it is made for any individuals above the age of 13, or if you really want to be safe, 16. That way it accounts for other countries. And then that should really help you with being able to make the case that you've made it as clear as possible. So if there is anything algorithmic, that should help you. And then if it is anything at a case-by-case basis, you can make the argument and you can make the appeal and you can show that everything you've done has been to address this issue. The other thing I will tell you, the last thing I'll tell you, is if you are addressing and saying anything like kids or kiddos or little ones or something like that in your language just to be a joke or whatever, or if I were PewDiePie, I'd stop saying 9-year-olds and 9-year-old army real quick. Same thing for Mr. Beast. I would stop. I would kill that meme. That meme has to die now. The 9-year-olds meme has to die. And you have
9-year-old memes, folks, memes.
Yeah. So like that meme is over. And so I would say, don't do that anymore. And make sure that you find some other way to address your audience and make sure that's in a way that makes it clear that you're not addressing minors under the age of 13 or 16. So that would definitely help. If you're a collector, make sure you're putting collector in your tags, possibly in the title of your video. Put for collectors. Make your title and then make parentheses for collectors in your titles of your videos. If you're a collector, we had a lot of collectors freaking out. Do that. If you're a toy channel but you're a collector, in every single video from now on, put parentheses for collectors at the end of the title of the video, period. Put that in the description and put that in your tags. Okay, if you are an anime or gaming channel, like I said, use safe for work instead of family friendly. Use not made for kids, and that will offset some of that. And I would consider putting something in the description, again, a disclaimer, but you could also in your description saying for true fans or real fans, because that seems more mature or more adult. So that would be my advice. For channels that are directed and targeted at kids, build your business plan and your business model and your content model, understanding that there's a 99% chance you will lose the features we talked about and the majority of your AdSense revenue, which means that if you built an audience and you built a large audience and you made the majority of your income off of children's programming, you're a smart and savvy content creator.
Yeah.
If you need an income and this is going to affect you, I would encourage you now to put resources and effort into building a secondary channel with your knowledge that's not directed at children in a profitable niche, maybe one you are less passionate about but is lucrative, so that you can financially subsidize free children's programming that is less lucrative now and has some problems with it. And I would encourage you on your children's programming, while you have that large audience, to take more brand deals and negotiate that. And if you need to reach out, you can hire any YouTube coach to help you navigate brand deals. You don't have to hire me. You can hire any YouTube coach to help you navigate brand deals. Or get representation. Go out and get a manager to help represent you and go out and get those brand deals while you have the large audience and while you have all your features now. That way you can make money to offset these problems, and then you can rethink your business strategy. So I would encourage any creator to rethink their business strategy if they make kids directed content and plan to lose these features. Don't hope and pray that you won't. Plan that you will. Plan for the worst, hope for the best, and use your knowledge to build a safer business model and a new audience. You might have to split your time. This may have to shift focus. Think of it as an opportunity. Think of it as an opportunity, and think of it now. Prioritize a more lucrative niche, something you don't hate, something that you're doing, being in a sellout, something you like enough that is clearly profitable and is middle of the road. And that would be my advice. And I know that was super long.
That was absolute gold. Absolute gold. And Macy dropped a super chat with a question that you just answered. They said, what would your advice be for nursery rhyme channels that are clearly for kids? He already answered that. And what would be the impact of removing personalized ads? I think you already tackled that as well. You're gonna
lose up to about 60% of your ad revenue.
Yeah.
There you go.
If not more.
Yeah, this is going to be a hit. That's why you don't want to build your business based around AdSense. You want to find other ways to monetize your channel.
And here's the thing, especially for a case like that, if like you have original songs that are for kids and people are listening to your videos, you'd be surprised how many parents will buy it and put it on their phone, those songs. So like there are traditional ways you could sell that stuff. You'd be surprised. Like I see parents all the time, instead of going to YouTube, they have it on their iPhone, nursery rhymes to help their kids if they're out in public, because the easier you make it for a consumer of your product to get to it, the faster they're going to purchase it. You make my life easier. Oh, okay. I'm going to give you $1 for a nursery rhyme. Yeah. Easy.
Yeah.
That's why I keep saying build a direct-to-consumer business. Build a direct-to-consumer business. And if you like make a deal, like get yourself into stores. If you have a nursery rhymes channel and you're doing that audio, find a record label, get yourself into that, like, because you can nickel and dime iTunes and everything like that, but that means you're just on the internet and everything like that. Take a licensing deal and some upfront cash to offset you. Get yourself into Walmart, get yourself on every freaking list and everything like that. Get your stuff out there, and then do, like, if any of you are doing children's directed programming, look at, who doesn't get enough credit in this community? Sean McKnight, the father of Brooklyn and Bailey, with cute girl hairstyles, built a freaking empire. Okay. Like, look at what they did. I saw a cutout of them at the local JCPenney the other day. All right. Like, like, maybe you don't become that, but you guys need to start thinking about the fact that people with a lesser social media following than you have been on Shark Tank. Build a direct-to-consumer brand.
Here's something.
It's the 21st century. It's the greatest opportunity for entrepreneurship there's ever been. And Gary Vee kept telling you guys that these platforms might go away, or social media might go away, or it might evolve or change, or you might get left behind by an algorithm. And he told all of you to not rely on it and make most of it while you can. Vine died, but guess what? Most of the people who were massively successful on Vine, they ain't hurting just because Vine died. The Snapchatters who listened to me and bailed and went to Instagram and YouTube are killing it.
Yeah.
So to answer the question that popped up from Live Life and Explore, I was told YouTube is deleting small channels. They are not deleting small channels if you are following all their rules and terms of services. If you break their terms of services, they will remove you. Nothing is changing. They're not removing small channels. Another thing, going to a rumor I saw earlier, if I'm not monetized, will YouTube delete my channel? Similar thing. No, they're not going to delete you for not monetizing. We don't monetize TubeBuddy, and they do not delete our channel.
Right. So
Casey Neistat didn't monetize for.
I want to kill 3 rumors at once.
Nail them. Go.
I'm going to kill 3 rumors and 3 urban legends. I'm going to kill 3 urban legends.
Ooh. Take them. Go.
YouTube doesn't promote content more. YouTube doesn't promote content more that makes them the most money. And I'll prove this one right now to you all and everything like that. I have YouTube videos that have a 40% freaking CPM. YouTube hasn't made that crap viral, even though it would make them a lot of money. If YouTube was going to promote anything that was going to make them money, it wouldn't be an entertainment channel that is a big YouTuber that gets a $2 CPM for them when they would make more money promoting a financial advice video or a business video from me that has a $46 CPM, homie. And even on my own channel, they're promoting videos based on how many people are interested in that topic, not how much money that they and I make, because if that was the case, YouTube would promote more of every single one of my videos that makes $30 for CPM, $30 for every 1,000 views, instead of content from bigger, more popular creators with a mainstream, broader appeal that make them $2 for every 1,000 views, just because there are more of them. Because there's a threshold at which there's someone who can get 2 million views on a video, and I will still make more money than them with 30,000, 40,000 views on a video. I saw a real estate agent make $4,000 on AdSense with 80,000 views. With 80,000 views, he made 4,000 on AdSense. The CPM rate is absurd for certain niches. YouTube does not elevate channels based on how much money they make them. And that's the real truth, because if they did, and I didn't have to tell you about what's in my pockets, but if they did, believe me, homie, my videos would be viral. So that's number one.
I'm going to pause you for 1 second and just say that if you're getting $40 CPM, I just realized that everything that I've done has been wrong.
It's on my affiliate.
I'm talking about
affiliate marketing.
Yeah, I'm on the phone with you tomorrow, and it's time for a channel pivot. That's all I'm saying.
I can tell you how to do that. I can literally tell you how to do that, Dee, because even in your niche, I know exactly how to identify what advertisers spend money on, because I'm an advertiser. We'll have that conversation. But wow, that's $40 CPM. That's insane.
But to Roberto's point, like I watched, like I was able to dissect some of the stuff he recommends for free, and like now I have Adobe trying to buy out ads on my channel. Like I have like big things I'm talking about. Like it's figuring out, like if you really want to get more through AdSense, listen to like Roberto's teachings. This is just like it works, and so like that's all I can say.
All right, Roberto, go ahead. Unpause. Go.
Yeah, because again, I reverse engineer the business because I came from the world of that first. You guys have to remember, before I was a YouTube content creator, I worked in corporate America. I was an ad buyer, a media buyer, so I understand the reality of that. And I buy ads to this day, and I sit in the advertiser dashboard. When all of you were sitting in YouTube analytics, I'm sitting in the advertiser dashboard, and I'm sitting in Google Analytics. Okay, so I'm sitting in corporate all day. All right, so I'm in corporate mode. I'm corporate Roberto, right? But that being said, here's the thing. In terms of another rumor, let's look at it like this. What incentive would YouTube have to crush small content creators? YouTube is strangling, crushing small content creators. There is no incentive for them to do that. I see, and if you think the algorithm's against you because you're a small content creator, then what about Paul Grossclose? What about Paul Grossclose for our community? Because the thing is, he has 6,000 subscribers. He has videos with 300,000 views when he does a documentary on a big YouTuber. When he does a short form micro documentary on a big YouTuber that's popping and topical, he can get 250,000 and 300,000 views. And you say, well, I don't want to talk about big YouTubers. How do you think every tech channel gets big? By talking about the new iPhone. There are people who get big because people are interested in iPhone, and they come with a fresh and different perspective or a different type of cinematography, or they do it in their localized language. Yep. Everyone wants to talk and be skeptical. YouTube doesn't rig the algorithm to make people like Janelle or Joanna Cedia or Emma Chamberlain go big. That is human behavior and how they appeal to the average consumer. YouTube has no incentive to restrict, suppress, or destroy small content creators, and no reason to delete a small YouTube channel, because YouTube doesn't know with any certainty what will be big and what will go big. If they could predict that, and if they were good at that, then why was YouTube Rewind such trash? If you really think that YouTube is going to pick and choose, or YouTube is going to make industry plans, the only evidence you need The only evidence you need to know that they can't predict that is to look at their past decisions. The fact that they had no clue that we were going to react so badly to taking away verification badges. The fact that they did YouTube Rewind the way they did. Between them and the industry, do you really think that they know well enough how to create an industry plant? Are they that into the culture? Are they that good at understanding the culture that they can predict what will be viral and what will be big? They don't know how to do that because they are engineers. And I will remind you, as an actual nerd, that introverted engineers are not always good at predicting human behavior outside of the aggregate of data, and even then we still get it wrong. So there's no reason to suppress or destroy or delete a small YouTube channel and to support something else, because YouTube can't know that. And you can find evidence of this by looking at small YouTube channels that have 1 million views and subscribers. You realize how many gaming 8-bit dubstep channels that I know that have 10,000 subscribers and 800,000 views on a video because we listen to that dubstep 8-bit music all the time? So like that's rumor number 2. Urban legend number 2. We're not killing.
D, go ahead, start sleeping.
For any reason.
Do a 24-hour live stream of you sleeping.
No, like legit. I think this is an amazing topic, and I wish I would have started earlier in the night because this thing just needs to go on. Like more people need to come in. But I do want to do this right now because I know a lot of people are thinking about, well, how can I tell if my channel is this or my channel is that? I'm going to drop 2 links in the chat right now. One of them is a direct link to Google's support page where they basically go through a checklist of things that you need to identify on your content or on your channel to decide if you're making content for children or not for children. And one of the great things that I love that Roberto said earlier on is if you would have been asked a month ago, do you make content for kids or not? Everybody would have had a clear answer. And now all of a sudden there's panic involved and nobody has an answer. So that's the first thing I wanted to drop in there. And I just dropped it in. The second thing is I'm going to drop YouTube's official response to this in video format on the YouTube creator channels. This is their video reply, their video commentary on this, explaining what's taking place and how you can move forward. So I'm going to drop that into the chat right now. So those are 2 things that every single person in here should watch as soon as we're finished talking here, if you're unsure where your channel sits within all of this. So guys, I need to break this down. It's almost 2 a.m. here.
Got it. Give them one last urban legend.
Roberto,
that needs to
go.
die.
Carry it, go.
Last urban legend that needs to die is this. YouTube gains nothing and has no incentive to demonetize your channel. Yep. If you don't make money, YouTube doesn't make money. Boom. It is revenue sharing. Imagine me being a small business owner and like saying that we're going to stop, we're not going to make money because I'm giving you a 30%. Like if I take 40% and you take 60% of all of your sales, stopping you from getting sales is not in my best interest. It's not in my best interest because when YouTube demonetizes you or flags a video, the thing is that in that particular instance, ads are not playing on the video or a limited number of them are. And you can see this because of a thing called monetized playbacks. And your audience will be able to tell you that, yeah, I didn't get ads on this or not a lot of ads on this one or whatever. And so if ads don't play, YouTube makes no money. And also consider this. If you are a smaller channel, then for the hosting of gigabytes of your files and for the bandwidth that you absorb, you realize that like my internet service provider over the summer before I upgraded my plan and like took my modem out of my room and put it downstairs and all that nonsense, that I was getting every month during the summer, I paid $200 extra on top of my cable bill because of my bandwidth usage. And you guys remember that this summer I uploaded less content than I uploaded in my entire YouTube career. And that still caught me for $200 extra on my bill. And that was because that's the maximum that they say they could charge me. Now, if you think about that, well, guys, are we even breaking even for YouTube in the cost of hosting and distributing our content? And the thing is, most of us, even if we're monetized, even if we're making a goodly amount of money, we're probably not profitable to host. So if YouTube was going to do anything to us for not being commercially viable, they would have done it a long time ago because most of us are not commercially viable. And they haven't shut down channels that haven't uploaded in 5 years. So if they were going to shut down anything, they would have shut down content channels that haven't uploaded in 5 years, and they haven't. They've let the archive ride. So you have clear examples to kill off all these urban legends, and it's not just speculation on my part. You have clear evidence of this. And again, if you don't make money on ads, YouTube doesn't make money on ads. That's what revenue sharing is. That's what's called a YouTube partner program. You're in this together. So again, they're not screwing themselves over just to screw with you. Stop taking it personally. I know it's hard, but you have to stop taking it personally and say, you know what? Am I honestly a good vehicle for all advertisers? Am I good for a company in the Midwest that's a Procter & Gamble company, and has those down home value? Am I really? Ask yourself that question. Be honest with yourself the same way with, am I really making content for kids or not? Be just honest with yourself. Have the integrity to say, you know what? Maybe that call isn't wrong. It's inconvenient. It pisses me off. It's frustrating. I would like to make money on this, but you know what? Maybe there's a reason. And then just own that and think about, what can I do to put myself in a better position if I want ad revenue instead of sponsors or affiliate or to sell things? Maybe I need to make my content a better vehicle for brands. And that's just the way it is. And just take some responsibility there, because again, YouTube has no financial incentive to hurt you. They have no financial incentive to hurt you. It's to their detriment if you don't make money. If you don't make money, they don't recoup the cost of hosting your content. They don't recoup the bandwidth bill.
He's right.
They don't. There's no reason that a business decides to take a loss on money if they don't have to. There's no reason that someone does business at a loss if they can not do that.
Agreed. And I think we have had a great conversation. I know that Dee Nimmin needs to get going to bed, so I will end this off for you, Dee. I'll help it make it a little easier for you. Keep calm and create on. Subscribe to Dee Nimmin. If you were enjoying this stream, go ahead and give it a like. We have maintained 180 people through a stream shift, which is impressive, Dee. Congratulations and round of applause. Thank everyone for watching, Dee. Go get some sleep. And again, subscribe to Master Your Mobile on Dee's channel.
So I just want to say, I see people who are just joining us. Thank you, Andrew. That was awesome. I need you to always introduce me that way. Just always introduce.
Be your hype man.
Hype man. I need a hype man. But I see some people asking what you can do. Look, I just dropped some links into the chat. Go follow those links. Read about it. YouTube has done an official video response. Google has written this. I've dropped the links in the chat. Please take a moment and read those. If you don't read those, I don't know what to tell you. If you can't take 30 seconds or 3 minutes or something to go inform yourself, click those links, watch the video, read everything on the page. You have to do that. You have to inform yourself. You have to educate yourself to know what's going on. Everything that we talked about today, it's our opinion. We're not lawyers.
Yes.
It's based on history. It's based on our opinion of what's happening based on the information we have at our disposal at this time. This is an excellent
entertainment purposes only.
And this, and this stream was not for kids. But no, I want to thank Andrew for coming in. You guys have hung out with me for 2.5 hours, not including the first chat. So thank you, Andrew, for that. Thank you, Roberto, for bringing fire like you always do. And I would love for you to go to DC and speak on behalf of the creators. You would definitely be part of the dream team. Andrew, I think you would too.
Oh,
yeah,
well,
both of you guys. I'll drive you there.
First drive from Thailand, then we'll figure the rest out.
Yeah. But for everybody who hung out with this podcast, thank you. I'm going to bring this up where he says, great stream, gents. Thanks to everybody who hung out with us the entire time. We know that this is it's a scary time for a lot of channels. We get that. Best thing you can do is just educate yourself. Only get information from Google and from attorneys and from YouTube directly. Don't take your advice from people who are saying they've got inside sources and that sort of thing. A lot of people are just kind of pulling that out of their back end. Guys, would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad information floating around right now, so make sure you're getting information from reliable sources and trustworthy sources. So thanks, everyone, for hanging out. Andrew, thanks again. Roberto, thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time. I appreciate everything you guys do for the community and the information that you've shared today. I would love to do this again sometime. This was fantastic. Everybody have an awesome day. It is now 2 a.m. over here, and I'm just going to go in a corner and pull a dirty towel over me and go to sleep. Any final words, Andrew?
If I can, you can too. Woo!
Roberto? Anything?
Stay awesome.
Stay awesome. There you go. Everybody have an awesome day. Give this a like on the way out. You can continue to share it. And there's a lot of tweets happening right now with people tweeting different celebrities. So I love that. Thank you guys. And good luck, everyone. This is going to work out. Don't panic. Everything will play out the way it should. Cheers, everyone. Have a good day.